It's 3 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. If you'll please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Alderman Hoffman.
Here.
Alderman Varela.
Here.
Alderman Rucker.
Here.
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderman Morose.
Here.
Alderman Osteen. Mayor Hoffman, or Mayor Harmonson. Jesus.
Oh.
Sorry.
Mayor Hoffman.
Negative.
Sorry.
Present, thank you.
Yeah, you got demoted. Didn't you remember me sign that sheet yesterday?
I know you. I always threaten her whenever she brings me stuff to sign. Is this my letter of resignation?
Oh, okay.
All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to start workshop number 4, hopefully our last one. And do we know Alderman Osteen, was he going to be here?
My impression was when I talked to him last that he planned to be here.
Okay.
I talked to him yesterday. He was planning on being here.
Very good. All right. I'll turn this over to City Administrator Devin Lake, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. We've passed out a few things. So after I received all of the re-rankings, I had Tara make another copy. The only changes that happened was in the general fund projects, which are at the top of the page. Number 1 and what was number 2 are now a tie. And then number 4 and number 5 switched places. That was the only changes based on the re-ranking. And then Alderman Rucker had asked me to make a copy for you guys of the Consumer Price Index information for this year. And so I passed that out to you all as well. So the first item for discussion is, about that.
There it went.
There we go. Okay, I'm just gonna let Jamie back there do that. So for the last, this will be the 4th day of having the laptops. In an effort to hopefully preserve paper, considering that the board packets are a significant amount of paper most of the time that Tara makes copies for, I would propose that we move to the laptops so that we can save on that. I know that it was mentioned at strategic planning that, you know, getting rid of paper and historical documents and stuff like that, scanning them in and getting them recorded is important. And so in an effort to try to save a significant amount of paper, which I'm sure Tara can give some information on.
It would be amazing if we could get rid of paper packets, but
Yeah.
it's up to you guys.
So I want to see if you guys are okay with moving towards that direction and you guys getting your packets in the email, and you guys can follow along and look through it as needed.
Comments from the board? Oh, Alderman Rucker, have you? Any other comments?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'll take the laptop. I originally didn't want it, but I have so much on my other laptop. It's probably best to go ahead and take the laptop, and I'll fight turning old and try to do it online.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman Ross?
I don't want the laptop, but I've always taken my board packets electronically. I've got 2 email addresses, 2 calendars, and I don't need 2 computers. So I'm hoping you'll take it back, but the other folks may want it, so it doesn't matter to me either way.
I mean, you guys are happy. I'm happy to have you guys leave it here if you don't want to take it with you, or if you don't want to, if you want to use your own.
I'm going to use my own.
Okay. That's fine.
So the option is to take this home, and that would be when we get our board
That would be-
agendas and
right,
everything.
right.
Otherwise, when I get it on email, of course, I could print it out myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't care to be printing 1,000 pages, literally.
Right.
And so I always pick up a packet here, but I don't really care. I don't mind having another laptop just for our business.
Sure.
And you can print whatever, and if you wanted something specific printed, and say you wanted, something specifically printed, I can print that specifically and give it to you. It's just that we're getting ready to print out, budget and all of that stuff, it's
Yeah.
gonna be 300 or 400 pages.
Yeah.
It's a lot to
It's a
copy.
lot,
I
and
mean,
I
it
wouldn't
takes
do
3
it.
and 4, you know,
Yeah.
2 to 3 to 4 hours to print.
Yeah.
You know, it's, I mean, it's up to you guys. You
No,
guys
I
let me know.
appreciate that, yeah.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
I'll just say, when it comes to the budget book, I mean, I think that's one time when we need to have.
Yeah, no, the budget book is a different concept. That would
Absolutely.
definitely be a hard
Yeah.
copy printed.
Okay.
You will get that, definitely. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Are you talking about
No, the budget will be
documents or are you
printed.
talking about agendas? Because I agree with Alderman Ross, the fact that, you know, the budget, I have that on my laptop and everything is there. And, you know, as much as I like the paper and everything, I can go in when I want to research that and print out what pages I want. But as
Right.
far as the agenda goes, I want that on paper. I'm sorry. I make my notes on it. I read through it and I can't.
That's what we get
Maybe
used
it's,
to, I guess.
maybe some people have no problem doing it on their laptop and making their notes, and I can't. I won't say I can't, I won't. I want paper for the agendas.
Well, I'll just say this, I too am a paper person, however, I also didn't like it when they first came out where I had to pump my own gas, and I will learn, so I can deal with laptop. The meetings might not go as smooth, because as you notice, I clip them, I have my little style, but I can go with, you might have to help me a little bit, but I will switch to that if that's so chooses by the board.
I'd have to hook this up to my internet.
Any other comments or questions?
Okay.
Sorry, someone's calling me on that.
Well, how are we going to leave it for Alderman Rucker?
I'll print his packet.
Do you want to have us print it for you, or do you want to print it yourself?
No, I think it's a cost for the city to print it for me.
Okay.
And but don't forget you have Alderman Osteen, because him and I have had this conversation. I'm not going to speak for him, but I know he enjoys paper.
Well, I also know Alderman Osteen was on both sides of the fence at our last meeting without being here. So hopefully he'll show up and tell us what he thinks
Do
as
you,
well.
you still want the police to deliver your packet?
If that's a problem, I'll pick it up.
Todd? Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure I can do that. I'll print your packet still. Okay. All right.
Okay. Since Alderman Osteen is not here, do we want to move this down to
Yes,
the
please.
end, please? Okay. Jamie went to go get me a new battery for the clicker.
There's some down there, right, he has some brand new ones right there.
It's AAA,
Oh, AAA. Nope, we don't got those.
yeah. Can you click it real quick? First up is going to be Eric on significant O&M requests.
And welcome back, Eric. Good time in Alaska?
Thank you, sir. Yes, very
like-
cold, but very pretty.
Looks like you had a lot of good times.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry I missed out on all the fun last week. So
But you came back without any huskies, correct?
did not.
tabling it?
No more dogs.
I'd have rather been in Alaska than here.
I caught a little bit of it.
I'd
Yeah.
love to go back
I'll
and
make you
get
one.
beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We're good to go?
Yep, you're good to go.
Okay.
I think Alderman Osteen just walked in.
Okay.
Hark.
Everybody say hi, Bob. Hi, Bob.
You
Sorry,
guys want to go ahead and back up to fleet management real quick and discuss that?
that would let him go if you don't mind.
Okay, that's fine, yeah.
Welcome.
Okay, significant O&M requests, training and conferences, basically. I asked for requests in training funding. There's several trainings that I wanted our staff to go to last year, but unfortunately, we didn't have the funding. And this year, since we are going to be fully staffed, part of that is for the recreation specialist and myself to go to the Missouri Parks and Rec Association Conference, which will be in the spring. And then there are some specific maintenance training that the City of Columbia offers through the MPRA. And we also try to go every other year to the Missouri Common Ground Alliance Summit, which is in Springfield, which is free training, and it's outstanding. Zach and Rob, I'm sure you guys have been to it. Public Works usually attends. But there is a cost for hotels and everything. So And then a little bit more for, there was some unexpected training that I would have liked our team to attend last year, but we were not able to just because we didn't budget for it, so. Advertising, also, there's extra funding for myself to attend the MML conference that everybody seems to go to, and I haven't been to yet, so I'd like to do that. Advertising, I think Parks needs to do a better job of advertising. I asked for an increase in that to 1,000 from 500. Most of our advertising budget went towards Fall Festival this year. There's other things I think we could use. I think we could do a better job. We have a little bit more funding. Jamie has been outstanding and a game changer about getting parks out there through social media and everything, but still radio spots, advertisements go a long way, and newspaper spots. And then memberships, asking for, become a member of the National Recreation Park Association. It's pretty standard in the industry. They offer a lot of free training and things for park specifics. So pretty much it. Be happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Rucker.
I know this is expenditure, but where are we at on the revenue side in reference to the possibility of renting the park out? I know the ballpark program, because wasn't there some expenditure stuff that may go with that, or we're just kind of moving forward with the fact that we're not going to have them, and then once that is done, then we'll adjust the budget, or? And I realize one of those is a revenue question I should have asked on the revenue side, but.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Renting the park outs that specifically just,
Ballpark National.
okay. The latest update on that, and I literally right before this meeting, Cole
I
and
don't need to know kind of where we're at. I just need to know where the budget is. Is a budget taking into consideration, well, we're going to be going down that road, or is a budget, is a budget saying we're not going down that road, and once we get an agreement, then we'll change the budget? I mean, I'm just kind of trying to figure out where the budget's pointed.
well.
We're
I-
budgeting as if we're not.
Okay.
Yeah, like we talked this morning.
I'm fine either way. I just want to know which way we're going, so.
Yeah, we
If we-
budgeted just like it was last year, which was we weren't going to have a contract. So it's just easier to proceed in that direction until we have a contract and can move in that
I'm
direction
okay with
instead.
that. Just,
Sure.
if that occurs, then if we're successful, then we can make the adjustments.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
With the unknowns, there's really not anything
Yeah,
else we
I'm
can
okay.
do, so,
That's fine.
yeah.
Mr.
Any other
Mayor?
questions? Alderman Hoffman.
I'm not sure if this is the right place to bring this up. I'm not, maybe this is a different spot. Let me throw it out here now. I think we should pave that road down through the dog park. I'd like to go all the way to the maintenance building, but maybe we could do that next year. But I do think we should, I don't think there's any plan right now to any funding for that, and I think that should be a priority.
Alderman Hoffman and I discussed this last week, and I did not put that on the capital request simply because we were asking for so much for Phoenix, and I didn't know if that would be realistic to get the road paved as well. The dog park happened very quickly, so that is why I did not. But I would be certainly very happy if the board approved paving the road. It does need to be paved.
Alderman Osteen.
Alderman Hoffman and I discussed this previously. I'm not sure if the pavement of that road would fall under Parks and Rec, or if that falls under Transportation.
Historically, those kind of things have been Park and Rec, I think, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be somewhere else.
Alderman Rucker.
Hatchery Road, officially, where does Hatchery Road go? From what to what? Is that road going through the city park, platted Hatchery Road? And if it is, I think that it could fall under transportation. It could fall under CIT.
Yes.
Okay, my opinion. But I think if it's not platted, then I don't know.
It does list Hatchery Road all the way down to the lakefront.
Right, and
Yeah.
I think that that's a question. The other question is, what's the cost? So I think some of those things need to come forth before we can, at some point, we need to do it. I agree with Alderman Hoffman, whether it's now or later, our planning, we have to have some of those answers, I think, move forward, but I think
Hey,
It is
Drew?
something we should identify.
Is that something, not right now, but just ballpark, would you be able to look at the square footage or distance? Not today, but give us some sort of lease.
Yeah, we could estimate the total area that needs to be paved, assume a few things, and be able to come up with, at least for the paving,
Pardon the pun, a ballpark figure?
yes, a ballpark figure, yes.
Okay. Okay.
One thing I,
Osteen.
I'm in agreement with wanting to have that road paved, but once again, I just want to clarify moving forward exactly where that would fall under as far as funding. So that's something, get back with us on that,
Okay.
just so
Yep.
we're clear.
Very good. Any other comments for Eric or questions? Okay.
one thing I will point out before we move on from the roadway is I knew the dog park would be busy. I didn't know how busy it was going to be. And I got there at 9:30 last week on a Wednesday morning, and there were probably 10 dogs out there. I mean, in the middle of the week, and there's just people coming in and out. It's very heavily used. I took my wife by there on Sunday because she hadn't seen it, and it was crazy the amount of people there. So it's been a very good thing for the community.
Super.
I can answer the question about whether it's a platted road or not. It is not a platted road, it is a private drive from basically the entrance of the park all the way down to the end.
So basically where our entrance is where the Hatchery Road stops.
Hatchery spurs into the park probably 200 feet, and then the rest of it, and candidly, the road's not built where the platted road is.
So it's not city?
That's what you do.
It is city, but it's private city.
It is private city property, city drive and park.
So how do
Very
you
good.
fund
Thank you,
it?
Gary.
That'd be parks from,
Okay.
in my mind.
Thank you, Eric. Got more, right?
Got more?
Okay.
Okay, Parks and Recreation, small capital requests. I did request $31,700 for 4 surveillance cameras for City Park. This will basically be phase 2. Last year, we had surveillance cameras installed at the entrance gate, at the main parking lot, and 7 total, and 5 surveillance cameras in the concession stand area, because that's usually where our highest concentration of people are. Continuing on, we requested through the same company a bid to place a camera on soccer field 1, 2, and of course now 3 with the dog park. And more importantly, the dog park and our maintenance shop. The dog park, as you know, we partner with Lowe's. That's a significant amount of money down there right now in materials, and we're just going to add to it, especially if the road is paved. Again, that's an if. But I do see that area being improved. I would like to see flushing bathrooms down there, possibly a shelter. Also, we have a significant amount of money in equipment at our maintenance shop. The police department, they're nice enough to close the gates for us in the evenings, but they have to prioritize, and sometimes they're not able to get down there right away. And I'm just a little concerned about after hours, property damage or something else going on. In my experience, if you're in a park after dark, you're usually doing something you're not supposed to. So that is why I'm requesting the cameras. Okay, Christmas lights.
I got a question, if you
Yes.
don't mind, real quick. Is this 4 surveillance cameras?
Mm-hmm.
Is the price of $31,700, obviously it's not just for the cameras, it's for the monitors, the monthly fees? Is this a one-time fee, a yearly fee, or?
It includes installation. It also allows us the ability to go back 30 days. Does Breischer charge us a fee each year for those? For the surveillance cameras?
Yes, there's licensing in the back.
Yeah.
that I cover on my maintenance and support.
Okay. So Parks has access to the cameras. I can go back at any time, go back 30 days, check on things. Obviously, the police department, and I think airports has cameras as well.
Would these cameras be hooked up to our 911 here?
Yes,
They would, okay.
yes,
Very good.
they can access them at any time, so.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any specific questions on the cameras, or you want me to cover everything? And
That's good.
Yep.
So when was the last time we had any significant vandalism in the park?
Depends on what you title.
More than $2,000?
I've been there 2.5 years. We've had some toilets destroyed at Phoenix. We've had some vehicles get out on the soccer fields. Putting a dollar amount on that is hard, though, because we have to repair the sod and everything. But in my experience, whenever you have facilities open after dark, things are going to happen. The cameras are very much needed at the concession stand. That was a good step in the right direction, but this gives the police department more tools just in case something does happen.
That's all I have, thank you.
Okay. Holiday lights. So I'm asking for $25,000 in funding to purchase new holiday lights. I don't know if anybody's purchased commercial holiday lights, but $25,000 will get you about 5 or 6 of them. They're very expensive, and I'm asking this because the light displays that we have are all very old, the majority of them. And I talked to April and Devin about this. And long story short, we had to cancel the lights 10 or 11 times last December because basically what we have right now is not adequate for what we need. The third line there, $15,000 Christmas light electrical upgrades. We had electrical company come in and give us a bid on putting in electric outlets and pedestals around the ball field area where we have the holiday lights, because basically right now what we have going on is a lot of extension cords daisy chained together, and we have a lot of very old lights. Now, GFCI outlets were put in within the last, I think, 5 or 6 years, because basically what you had going on is the lights, whenever it would rain, it would cause them to trip, and you have half your light displays to fail. And there's literally nothing we can do about it with the light displays we have right now. We're hoping with the electrical upgrades and new extension cords that are not wired together, we can eliminate part of this problem. But the only way we can do this right is if we spend money on it. The electrical upgrades are needed, and not just for this, but we can use them for other special events in our parks. What I would like to do, and I did talk to Devin and April about this. Well, Devin, can you tell us what Sedalia did for theirs?
So they permanently installed electrical pedestals with GFCI outlets. So it was all hardwired in. They don't daisy chain the things together. And it works well. They don't have any issues with it going out when it's raining or snowing. So that's what we did some investigation on.
Can you tell us how much they spent on that?
Did I tell you? Because I don't remember.
$172,000.
Okay, there you go.
Now, they have a much larger light display than we
It's
do.
huge.
Yes. So,
Alderman Rucker.
Couple of thoughts. Number one, I had opportunity to see a lot of parks like that. My son's a big to do with it, and so up in the St. Louis area, some Kansas area, and I will say that an awful lot of them are doing something more permanent. Matter of fact, what's very interesting is and I don't know that we could do this in our park, but what I've seen a number of them do is they create an RV park. And they put the pedestals in like an RV park would have. And they close the RV park down from November through the winter months is what they just close down. But during the non-winter months, they have it open as an RV park. So they use those pedestals. So that's a way of providing, I realize we're talking about closing the park down at dark, but, that was a way they solved the problem. I don't know what a cost was, but also there's more return on your money. So whether it be an RV park type electrical outlet which is very well-equipped for it, are something more permanent. But I do feel that we need to either get in the game or get out of the game. It was very disappointing last year, and I'm not blaming the parks. You know, I said this a number of years ago when we got into this, that if we're going to get into it, we need to keep maintaining it, we need to put money into it. Upgrading these lights and doing those kinds of things, we need to do that, or not, because it really puts a black eye on us when, you know, when you're going down there to see them, and then all of a sudden you're disappointed because they're not there. Lastly is, we talked about a number of years ago doing this, and I think we haven't done a good job of going out and trying to get involvement from the community. Our light park across the lake, which I attend every year, my grandkids go crazy if I don't, but every one of, almost, I think every sign over there has a sponsored by somebody, okay? So that's a way to have offset that, is to get some sponsorship, get these businesses that would support the sponsorship of that, which helps, again, supports the revenue to help upgrading. So this is not, those are the things we're not going to fix at this budget, but I believe that's the focus we should go in. And if we're not going to go in that focus, then we need to realize the expense. And again, we either get into business or we get out of the business.
To be clear, we do offer holiday light sponsorship as part of our advertising packages. And you're right, we do need to be a bit more aggressive with that, and I'm hoping Jamie can help us with that. We're also maybe exploring requesting to update the ordinance to allow businesses to possibly buy their own light display. We're just throwing around ideas here, but at the end of the day, what we have is just getting older. We have more and more light displays that are not working as we get them out. And we did, before, all the lights were stored in the pole barn by Public Works. So the Parks Department would have to take a trailer, drive across the bridge, try to be as gentle as we can in transporting them, and that's not good on them. So now we actually have a shipping container specific to the lights so they don't leave the park. What I would propose, if the board's in support of this, is we pause the lights this year. We will still supplement the road department. I've already talked to Rob, and we will take the good lights that we have and supplement along the parkway, and we'll have to plan that out. So the Parks Department's still going to be putting up lights, and probably just as many, as long as we can work out a plan. And then we have the electrical upgrades put in, and then we buy new lights, and we're better prepared for next year, is what I would like to do. If the board would like us to try to struggle through again this year and hope it doesn't rain, we can certainly do that as well.
I don't have any problem with that as a reasonable proposal.
Alderman Hoffman.
I agree with everything you said. I think this is a perfect thing to put on the plate of our new economic developer. Once hired, go out and find some sponsorships for this, try to offset this cost. I don't want to be ball humbug, but I'm not really a Christmas lights guy. But if we're going to do it, we should do it right and not just be throwing stuff down at the park. We put a lot of time and energy into making it a great park, so let's not have a black eye.
Alderman Osteen.
All right, so just to clarify on the record, the expenses for the electrical upgrades and the light displays are strictly for the light displays in the city park, correct?
Correct.
So that is basically being, or requesting for purchases for a very small percentage of the citizens or tourists that will go through the light park during the Christmas season, correct?
Correct.
I don't want to sound like I'm anti-Christmas, but I would be on board if these were upgrading light displays along the OC Beach Parkway, which has always been our centralized area for our tourists and our citizens as far as what the city does for Christmas displays. Not on board with upgrading and spending money for the light park itself in the city park, because once, but as other people stated, it's an all or nothing. Either we need to really buck up and provide that service, or cut it, and I don't see that there'd be any downside to us doing that. That's just my 2 cents.
Alderman Rove.
Well, years ago, for people that don't remember, Parkway West Business Association, which consisted of about 6 of us gals in business, and we got most of the businesses along the parkway involved, where they would be willing to sponsor some type of a light display out in front of their business. And it was quite popular. And of course, at the same time, that's when the bridge was a little bit different and the bridge was lit and all of that. But nevertheless, I think just what Bob was saying, going up and down the parkway the last several years, it's sort of intermittent. There's some businesses that have displays, others don't, and it just doesn't look consistent. It doesn't look good in my book to think, well, gee, why didn't they buck up and do something? I just think it could be a community, it should be a community idea all in one, and of course, here we are beginning of November, and they usually start putting them out during the first part of December, but I know that there's some businesses that would still be interested in having some kind of displays. There's a few displays are out there, but they're intermittent and it's not consistent. And I agree, I'd rather have it along the parkway where it's very obvious and it looks good for tourists to drive through. That's my business.
Alderman Ross.
I tend to agree with the parkway idea. We have, we own that lighting, and I'm not so sure there's some pretty good points of access on that lighting for electrical hookup. Now, I don't really think you're taking a lot of voltage, so, I mean, I think it's probably 20 amp circuit or something, but I could be wrong. And I'm not certain that there is there, but it looks like you could probably pretty easily put a lot of electrical accessibility along the parkway with those lights that we own. Ameren just does the maintenance on those. So I think that's something, before we spend a lot of money, don't get me wrong, our family goes every year and drives through the parks, and I like it, okay? But it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of investment, and one of the challenges of spotting electricity where you want for your light fixture is that changes over time. And, we may put it, and I don't know whether we did it right or wrong, but I know that we put electrical upgrades in down there 4 or 5 years ago. I think you mentioned that. And apparently we either did it on the cheap side or we didn't do it the best way or whatever. I'd rather just try to do something. I mean, we got lights up and down the parkway. If there's some way we can easily plug into those and start utilizing those on our right of way along the parkway, I think that's a great solution compared to being in the park.
Alderman Ross.
Just to add to what I was talking about, we also had a contest among the businesses how the community felt, who put out the best display. Stop in and make your vote there. And it was quite interesting how it got the community involved. And I just think it just might be something more we better be thinking about. Maybe I ought to get the Parkway gals busy again.
Yes, that's a good idea.
All right. Do you have all the information you need then?
I think so.
Okay. It sounds like the consensus is definitely hold off for this year and wait on the 40 grand and maybe continue working on the parkway.
Okay.
So next is human resources. I'll take the first slide if somebody wants to click the clicker. We are going to be absorbing the 1013 unemployment compensation and workers' compensation into human resources. As we discussed last week, we are going to be getting rid of the 1013 fund, so this department absorbed those. And I'll turn that over to Maddie.
Pardon my voice today. I'm in and out of having one. So I also absorbed the notary blanket bonds account from 1013 overhead, and that's roughly what we're accounting for 25 is almost the same as what we had for 24. Training and conferences, I did bump up from 5 to 10,000 since I do have 2 full-time HR employees now to sufficiently cover training for us. The job class compensation plan historically has not been budgeted properly. When I was going back through the CBIZ invoices, they are charging us between $10,000 and $17,000 a year. I am going to be looking at a different compensation study company to see what other people are offering because I wasn't all too impressed with what I'd seen in their past reports for the cost that they were attaching to it. Educational reimbursement, I did bump up from 6,000 to 15,000. This is to supplement our tuition reimbursement incentive programs for those that are pursuing higher degrees of education or certifications. They submit those, what they've paid out to the institution to us, and we pay them back if they've received an A in the class, they get 100% paid, and then it goes down from there as far as their letter grade. Within that, this year, we are looking at doing a paramedic program reimbursement for one of our current EMTs full-time, Allie Johnson. She wants to get her paramedic certification. Historically, we've had a harder time getting full-time paramedics in on staff. So we're looking at doing something similar to like our post-certification we do for officer recruits, where we would pay that out and she would have a time obligation to the city to fulfill that payment obligation. Excuse me. Adding in a mobile devices and services line for myself. The HR manager has not had a cell phone historically, but I do find that there's a need for one. Next one. Or any questions on that page? Yes,
Alderman Ross?
Is the cell phone just for you or for both of you all?
just for me.
Okay,
Because Abby's not salaried. I don't want her to have
okay,
one.
thank you.
Anything else on that one?
Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Rucker.
I have a problem with the job class compensation plan. I do echo the fact that I'm not been happy for a long time with the program that we've been using. I've echoed that a number of times. I don't know that we need to spend as much there as you're projecting, because I think that I don't know what you're planning on doing, because there's a number of ways to look at this. I would support obviously the doing something different with the plan and putting out for bid, but I would ask that you bring back that we have something to say about before it's awarded. It's concerning because that's $15,000, which falls underneath the level of board okaying, which means that can go out for bid, come back and be awarded, and the board not have anything to say about it. I think that there is some free stuff out there that I have been advocating for quite some time, which is through MML. I believe it's through the MML. There's an organization out of Kansas City. I can't think of the name of it, but it's a metropolitan Kansas City area that we can be a part of. And those don't cost us anything, other than it does cost us some labor of our organization, because in order to participate in it, they indicate, or they desire that you provide them with information about the classifications. Even though they do that, the one through MML, I have it on my computer at home, the one from 23, the reports back from that, which provides everything, a number of different job classifications, some that we don't have, but it also includes everything from the mayor's position down to staff, a number of members of staff. So there's some value in using that.
Which, if you want to send me that stuff, I'd be happy to look at it too.
I had sent that to your department, but obviously it was apparently prior to you being in that department.
Yeah, probably.
But MML has, I mean, they request, and last year what we did is we got it, and when we didn't we didn't respond to it, the response was, oh, I forgot, and I didn't do it until a week late. And so anyway, I'm not crying over spilt milk, just that's what it was. But I believe there's some value in the MML thing. I'm not so sure, we need to spend that much, but I do realize that maybe we've been spending more than $5 per year, but I support it. I'm just not willing to give you a blank check.
No, and I'm not, obviously, I'm going to look for the most frugal and effective option. The $15,000, I mean, I was looking at past years where we've paid them out $12,600. The last big one we did with them was 2023, and that was $17,800, and that one was to two invoices. One was about 12,000, the other was about 15,000. And I can't find any itemization on it. The report that I saw that I would think resulted from that was not up to my personal standards.
Historically, what we had done, and I'm, just for whatever it's worth, is we had taken, I believe it's a fourth of the,
They were supposed to send 20% of our job listings to them every
20%,
year,
okay.
because
I knew it was
everyone's supposed to be
somewhere
done
around
every
that.
5 years.
Each year, they would look into that. And the problem I had with that is the fact that, you know, this 20% you're looking at in 2024, that other 80% is, you know, behind, and by the time we got around to that classification, it was 3 or 4 years behind.
Right, and
So-
they did send 100% of positions to them last year, is what Gina had told me. What I don't like about CBIZ is they are only going off of the job specification that you're sending them. They do not revise it at all. They just give you their opinion based off of what you're sending
I applaud you
them.
that we do need to look at something
Yeah,
different.
so if you're sending someone the same job description we've had for 20 years, it's like you're showing someone a picture of your car when it was brand new, and your car is now 25 years old, and you're asking them, okay, what's wrong with this? And it's
I would
not
appreciate
effective
if
in
we
my
could,
opinion.
when you have your, when you have it drawn up on what you're wanting, if we could look at that before it goes out, in case there's some things we would like to just, you know, just like to understand it, to see if there's something more or less that we would like to have. I think that would be of value to the successfulness of that. And I will be happy to get you the,
Yeah.
on the MML
Definitely.
information.
Yeah, so the 15,000, it's what I'm ballparking. It's not the goal that I'm shooting for. I'm not looking to spend exactly that much, but I'm looking for something that's better than what we have ultimately. Anything else on this slide? Property and liability insurance, that's another one that's being absorbed from the 1013 overhead. That one is pretty standard, and that one kind of, I believe that one ebbs from year to year, right, April?
Yes.
Yeah. Self-insurance claim, we are also absorbing that from the 1013 overhead. And that's a very just conservative number that's been carried over year to year for that 2,000. The office supplies, HR has a brand new printer. We just need to be able to buy ink and toner to keep it going. So I'd bump that from 400 to 750. And then again, with memberships, similar to training and conferences, we've added that second employee, so we wanted to have enough budget for both of us to have applicable memberships.
So is office supplies, I thought office supplies was falling under city clerk. So is office supplies individual, or is it one group? You're shaking your head yes, and I asked
Just
you
that
different-
1013 is what was absorbed into city clerks. We used to have a supply line item for that 1013 department, and since we are dissolving overhead, that piece went into city clerk. But then each department individually also has their own supply line item as well.
1013 is for overall city. Each individual department has their own supply line item. So I buy all like the copy paper, any staples that they use in the copy room, anything that's in the copy room, that's overhead. So I buy like 25, right now I think we're at, I want to say about almost $3,000 or $2,500 just, or 2,000, not 2,000. I just ordered another 5 reams of paper, 5 boxes, $2,000 just in paper this year. So that's where that's overhead. But each individual department has their own supply line. So if she needs ink or I need ink, I have my own supply line for my clerks. Devin has hers for her ink printer. Everybody has their own different supply line. I didn't take over the entire city's supplies, just overhead.
So we don't see any value in large quantity buying, because there's going to be a lot of small quantity buying.
Right, I can't take over everybody's supply line. You would need someone to do supplies, just, yeah.
Well, and back in the day, we had,
How are we going to track postage?
I'm sorry.
How are we tracking postage? I've seen you.
Postage has their own, in a postage machine, each department has their own button that they push that is accounted for. And a report comes out that says city clerk has made $500 worth of postage a year. So that machine has its own lines. within that.
Alderman Osteen.
All right, not to slap anybody's hands, but let's wait to be called on before we start speaking up together.
Well, excuse me, Bob, this is an open discussion. We haven't been doing that the whole time. I'm sorry.
Have your hand up.
Well, we haven't been doing that.
I know, I was just giving you grief. I was going to piggyback on some of the things he just said, and why is this listed under a category of significant O&M requests for $350? It seems we're spinning wheels and wasting time on nothing here.
So Gina had set it up in whenever she sent out the budget stuff, that if they were going to increase more than, I think it was 5 or 10%, they have to justify why they were spending it. And so it was my understanding that prior to me, you guys went line item by line item through the budget, and in order to help avoid that, I was just doing significant issues.
If it was over 5%, she made you come to the board and tell you why you had to do it over 5. Devin next year, so she kept it that way this year, and then she said she was going to increase it anything over 10% next year. We've done that. That's been that way since I've been here. Anything over 5, she made it come to you guys to tell you why.
Well, thank you. It feels nickels and dimes here.
Yes.
I agree. I was just trying to narrow it down a little bit, but still give you guys the idea of what we're changing.
We didn't go over line item by line item. The line item by line item was presented to us. We was presented the whole budget line item by line item. We didn't go line item by line item and discuss each one. But we did have the whole thing and presented to us, and which we don't have now.
So far.
That's all.
Okay. So next is just a slide about 1013. Again, we are absorbing that into other departments, and that will be going away. And then next will be police.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the board. I gave everybody a memo reference, some salary increases that Camden County is going to be seeing this year. There were, January 1st, they're going to raise their starting deputy pay to $50,366. And then the rest of it's self-explanatory on the increases. But that is currently $9,100 and some change less than what our starting salary is for our current officers. Along with that, there is, we do offer shift differential. We have historically always had annual merit increases, some years with a cost of living, some not, where Camden County's new pay plan is not going to include that. But, we've worked really hard over the last 2 or 3 years to try to get to our full staffing, and we're almost there. We're one short. We've got a new one starting the academy next week. And I'd sure hate to, lose some people to Camden County with the incentives or the higher salary and the take-home card that they offer. Don't know if it's possible to increase our salaries at all for us to keep some of that from happening, but I'd like you guys to consider that. So, and we can move on to significant O&M request.
Do you mind if I ask a quick question on that subject?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor? Is that all right?
Mayor.
Is that all right?
I'm sorry, yes, I was reading the memo.
No problem. I got a chance to read it earlier. So do you know, Todd, first of all, thanks for bringing this to us. Do you know if they offer any type of retirement at Camden County?
They have loggers and surf. So loggers is what we've been looking at, and surf is, if I understand correctly, it's specifically for county employees. But it's similar to what a loggers is.
Okay.
Devin, you're nodding your head, so I thought maybe you know
Surf
more.
is a 457.
Okay.
What?
It's a 457, just like ours is, but it's for county employees.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question too.
Alderman Hoffman.
So are we just increasing for the new officers to match just the new officer pay, or is it more drastic than that?
I think overall, we haven't really had a chance to sit down and look at all the numbers yet, but I think if we would do that just for new officers, we would have them starting more than probably some of my corporals and such. So I think it would be something we'd have to look at to raise
So we would have to,
significantly across the board.
so we need to bring this up to match Camden County, and then we need to incrementally raise everybody else to probably match that percentage.
That would be my suggestion.
Okay.
Alderman Rucker.
Couple of things. Number one is, we say loggers, but as we have learned, loggers means nothing. It needs, you need to determine what loggers program it is. And that tells you at what comparison it is to our program.
Right.
Because there's loggers 1 through 15 or whatever, there's a number of those. So I'm just saying that we have to look at that to help with apples to apples. Number two, we do need to put a value as to our shift differential. And maybe we need to do away with that and put it all in one pot rather than having the shift differential, because that becomes difficult to sell or present to that new rookie. When you start throwing some of these little perks there, but they don't understand them, and somebody else doesn't do them, so, you know, it makes it difficult to compare apples to apples. So I think that is something we would need to do in order to be able to look at what some true numbers are. Number three is, I don't know off the top of my head, but what level, salary level are our officers? Because if they're, I believe it's 9, Alderman Ross?
8.
9 and
I'm
below?
looking at it here. It's 8.
Huh?
It's 8.
They're 8, okay, well, level 9 and below is what's going to receive a little more increase, is going to be receiving a 3%. So, you know, we need to look at what that 3% that we have on the budget right now looks like. And lastly, but not least, I will tell you that there has always been, in the world of emergency services, parity and salaries between fire and police to be tried to be maintained. And I will tell you, Osage Beach Fire District is seeking out employment for a firefighter, and they're at 40, and I didn't bring it with me, they're somewhere between 40 and 44,000. I think it's on the 44,000 side, but I'm not going to guarantee. It's in that mid-40 range is where they're at. So that's where they're at right now. So that's some parity that we need to consider. So I think that I support we need to continue, unfortunately, to keep an eye on the Joneses, but I think we need a little more info in order to move, and I'm in favor of getting that info. Thank you.
Alderman Ross.
I had one other, I'm sorry for not having all my questions together, but you mentioned here how Camden County get a take-home vehicle. Do some of our officers, like if they live in Osage Beach, have that ability? How does that work?
Right now, if myself, Sergeant Schwinn, he lives in the city, and Corporal Reiner with the Specialized Canine Unit, that's the three of us with take-home cars.
And that's because they live in the city?
Well,
Or at least-
Sergeant Schwinn does.
He's
so he's
the
the
only
only
person in our police
officer that
department that
lives
lives
in
in
the
the city of Osage Beach?
Yes, sir.
That's interesting. Go ahead, if you had something else to add.
No, I was just going to say if somebody else lived inside the city and we had the vehicle available, they would also be allowed to have a take-home car.
Alderman Ock.
So our policy is you have to live inside city limits to have a take-home vehicle?
That or a specialized position like our canine officer.
Is that common for cities that they require you to live within?
Some cities vary, like City of Campton gives their supervisors roughly 25 to 30 miles. I know they have one that lives in Lebanon, takes his car home.
And Camden County is within 20 miles of the county border?
County line, yes.
I think that's something we might want to look at personally.
Camden County's a lot bigger
Alderman
geographical area.
Osteen.
Well, I think there's a lot of factors to consider about the take-home cars. Number one, how are the police officers protecting that vehicle at their home? Is it in a carport? Is it in open air? Is it in a garage? There's a lot of liability and expenses depending on where they reside and versus how they're maintaining that vehicle. If we give all officers take-home vehicles, well, if they live 40 miles from the city of Osage Beach, well, once again, now we're using depreciation, mileage, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm all on board with if you live within a specific radius of the city of Osage Beach, yes. In a specialized department, I understand that, but I don't think it'd be smart for us to just let or expand that, because once again, once that property leaves our jurisdiction, we don't know where it's being, like, so where it's being maintained, how it's being kept in that facility, the mileage, the appreciation, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that we open the floodgates on it, but maybe lessen the restrictions.
Restricted to just those specialized positions, yeah. That's all.
I would hope we would circle back with some info for us on this.
Moving on, Police Department's significant O&M request. Training and conferences, you'll see an increase. Unfortunately, due to the death of Officer Carson, we'd like to send 4 officers to Washington, D.C. during National Police Week when Felicia's name's added to the wall. Contractual, we raise that from $2,000 to $9,000. That is when businesses contract with us to work security. Right now, it's primarily Walmart that does that. I have been approached by management of the Oasis, reference the amusement park. They'd like us to work security when they open. They'll have their own security unit, but they would also like 1 uniformed officer, at least, maybe 2 on holiday weekends. So that amount reflects that. Maintenance and support services, it's our, I just lost it. Our IA software, it's software that we'll use for our internal investigations as well as use of force reports, pursuit reports, et cetera. We are purchasing that this year, but it does have an $11,200 annual maintenance and support fee. Professional services, an increase in that. That is our language line that we use when we need interpreter services. That is more than doubled this year. I think we're already over budget on it for this year. We have very large, our Hispanic community is getting larger, and we do have our communications supervisor speaks fluent Spanish, and we utilize her quite a bit. But there are times that if she's in there by herself or unavailable, that we have to use the language line. Evidence supplies, the cost of our evidence supplies have just kind of skyrocketed. We've got lucky over the last couple of years. We bought a couple of years ago when it was lower, and we have depleted that, so we're going to have to stock up on that. And any questions on that?
Alderman Osteen.
Just to clarify, on the contractual security contracts, that is reimbursable. That we are budgeting for the cost of our labor, but then again, that's
Correct.
paid out by Oasis.
Correct. We charge the business $50 an hour. The officers our contract labor rate, I believe they get close to $41, $42 an hour. So the rest helps cover for insurance, retirement, and everything else.
So it's a budget increase, but it's a recapture on revenue.
Correct.
Just wanted to clarify that on the record.
So we've
Alderman
seen
Ross.
the revenue increase? Are we projecting revenue increase?
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
So I just want to make sure that my question was the same question, but as you delved into that, I'm trying to make sure I understand. So the contractual cost of $2,000, that's the margin between what they're paid versus what we're paid. Is that right?
I don't believe Devin.
No, the $2,000 is what was budgeted this year for contractual, and next year we're budgeting $9,000, and that will be offset in the revenue side.
$9,000 worth of revenue?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Alderman
Thank you.
Rucker. Alderman Rucker?
Oh, wait, this is not expense?
It is, it
Yeah,
has,
this is the expense
This
side,
expense side.
But the revenues.
but revenue will offset it.
So the revenue, so we're only budgeting 9,000 in revenue? And it's costing us 9,000 to get to 9,000?
We'll actually budget more in revenue than the 9,000 because we get more than what we pay out.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get. So our revenue side of that is
More.
more.
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman.
I'm just expanding on their 2 questions. I know you and I have discussed this. I'm still not sure I wrapped my head around it. So if this is, they're working there off duty, right? At Oasis.
It's secondary duty.
Secondary duty.
Yes. Extra employment.
So they can do that there, but they cannot do that at dog days.
Not as a security guard,
But they can do it at Oasis.
yes.
Explain the difference to me,
It has
please.
to do with alcohol sales.
But there's going to be alcohol sales on Oasis.
Okay. Wasn't aware of that totally.
I mean, there's going to be bars and restaurants in the Oasis.
But we're not working for that specific bar or restaurant. So our policy, this way the city policy is written.
I just
As well
don't
as
see the
department
difference
policy.
between them working at Oasis or working at dog days. That's all.
Alderman Osteen seems to have the answer.
Yes, it goes back to how many, what is the percentage of your alcohol sales versus your total revenue for the business? That dictates it through the city statute or state statutes. It's, if your alcohol sales is less than this percentage, then you do not, you can qualify for additional city support. If it's greater, then.
But that's our ordinance. That's not state mandated.
Well, I think it's our.
It's also our city department policy.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
we-
Based on alcohol
that we
versus
cannot work,
percentages.
that we cannot work secondary where alcohol or adult entertainment is the primary
I mean,
means
look,
of.
I guess if the officers don't have a problem with it, I don't either. But if the officers did have a problem with it, I would be interested in relooking at that ordinance myself.
What I might suggest is that we talk with the city attorney offline and
Sure.
not a budget item, and then if we need to change it, obviously the board can change it. Yeah.
Any other questions? Next one is small capital request. This is for 6 flock safety cameras. We'd like to put 6 of them in strategic locations across the city. This will help us solve some crimes, hopefully. We have, right now, there is 6 cameras within the city that are owned by private entities. Deerbergs and Lowe's both have cameras on their parking lot. They are a valuable tool. They'll help us track if we get a vehicle description, partial license plate, full license plate, will help us track that vehicle, put it in the area when the crimes have occurred. They're, just for example, we used one earlier this summer. We were able to track, we knew that there was a drug delivery being made inside the city somewhere. We tracked that vehicle from where it left in Wichita, Kansas, all the way to the lake. So, and we're able to make the stop, and our drug task force was able to make a case on it. So they are valuable tools. So,
Yes. Alderman Rose, I'm sorry.
Chief, where will these new 6 cameras go? Have you determined that?
we have locations, Nichols Road area, Nichols Road, KK, 42 intersection, or 42 area, Walmart, Passover Road in the Parkway. So all strategically placed locations.
Also what?
Strategically.
Alderman Hoffman.
I am in support of this, but you are on a slippery slope where you put those, because that can be an invasion of privacy to someone's private property. So I'm just wondering what the plan is for exactly, what's the coverage of those things?
They're all on the roadway, and they only capture what is on the roadway.
Okay. That's good to hear out in public so that people don't think we're spying on them.
Nope, it's all directed directly at the vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Ross.
So are these what some people refer to as LPRs, license plate readers?
Most likely, except with these, you get a picture of the vehicle, picture of the license plate, but they do not tell us who the car is registered to. We still have to have our means, reasonable suspicion, probable cause to run the license plate.
My impression is that how these are best used is that there's somebody puts something in a database that says this type of car with this license plate number could be an issue. And then whenever that comes by one of our cameras, if we had one, then we would be alerted.
Correct.
There's not somebody sitting there watching all the cars go by and
No.
recording license plate numbers and all those things.
No.
I just want to make sure, thank you, that's what I thought.
They're actually no different than the ones that the unit that we had that was on a vehicle that we had attached. It just met its end of life. So the license plates are in the database. If you're going by and it's entered as stolen, it will flag it. It'll send dispatch a notification. They'll notify the closest road unit to it, and hopefully we could intercept it.
Sounds good.
Alderman Rucker.
So are these, is this a service that we have a third party that we are involved with, or is this, we buy these cameras, they're ours, they're hooked into our system, and there's nobody else involved in this process?
No, it's a third party, flock safety cameras.
So is this an annual fee?
There'll be an annual fee, yes, sir.
So
And
it's
this,
a capital request. How does an annual capital request fall under annual fees?
that I'm not sure.
So it's not a,
Isn't this the purchase of the cameras itself?
It's a,
In the
we
first
do
year?
get the first year includes the purchase of the cameras, correct?
Correct. And then from now on,
And
it'll
then-
go in maintenance.
The cameras are ours, and then we have the maintenance and the software annually. And this 19,400 is for 2 years. So we would pay half this year and half next year.
Alderman Ross.
So I just think that if we're going to have capital requests that come up, and I think, Kevin, you're bringing this up, great questions, is that any associated annual costs, even if not in the first year, but at least in the second year, somehow we identify those so we understand what we're signing up for. Because I don't know if it's $100 a year or $2,000 per camera a year, and that might change. So just a suggestion.
All right.
Any other questions? Police Department capital replacement request, $295,000 for 5 interceptors and the equipment to equip those vehicles. Currently we have the 5 listed here. 2 are over 100,000 miles. The other 2 will be there if they're not already. This is from back in August. And then the one with 88,000 miles will be right there, probably at 100,000 miles. We request to purchase those. And then $18,000 for 5 laptop replacements. We had a few that we were able to purchase before we had the ARPA grant that we got from Camden County, which gave us 22, I believe, Michael. The 5 that we had before that have met end of life or approaching their end of life, and we'd like to replace those. Any other questions?
Alderman Osteen.
Maybe it's just I'm a little confused on this whole budget process this year, but I'm just confused on why this is part of a separate request for capital replacement, as opposed to some of the other vehicles that have been discussed under different categories. I'm just trying to wrap my head around why certain things are being presented differently through different departments, et cetera, and through different funds. Once again, I'm just confused on the budgeting process on where these vehicles fall into that.
So the ranking was only for new projects. These are replacement vehicles. So if there was a new vehicle, like the 2 for Drew's new 2 construction inspectors, that was put on the ranking list. These are replacements of current existing assets.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification, because it's hard to wrap my head around sometimes when I see things popping up here and why it's part of this discussion. That's all.
Alderman Hoffman.
Why are the laptops so expensive? Is it a lot of software attached to them, or?
They're semi-rugged laptops, so they're out in the heat, the cold, getting taken in and out of the cars, possibly sometimes dropped, maybe.
Okay.
Hopefully not, but they're supposed to be able to withstand that type of use.
Okay, and I don't know, 4 of the 5 cars look like they make sense to me. 88,000 miles at 2014. Maybe we could hold that one for another year or 2, I'm thinking. But
That one's in pretty rough shape.
is it? So, well, see, that's what I'm always curious about. We just look at this and I would think that that's the one we'd want to save. But you're telling me that that's probably the one we need to fix. And this has been my problem with vehicles since day one, is how do we know, just by looking at these line items, what condition they're really in?
Well, just like all these cars, even with the high mileage, their engine hours are probably double because
'Cause you guys run
they
hard,
get started at the beginning of a 12-hour shift and they run the entire time.
Right.
With all the electronics and everything that we have in them.
Sure. Again, this is just lends to why I really want to have an internal mechanic, but thanks.
Alderman Osteen.
Perhaps moving forward for all departments on vehicle replacements, as opposed to just giving year and mileage, give us more of a history of the vehicle as far as we've had to replace transmission twice in the last 3 years. We've had to give us a little more insight on the vehicles other than just year and mileage. Because it's hard to think, just like Alderman
Right.
Hoffman said, 88,000 miles to me seems like that's a keeper. But if you've had issues, we're not aware of that. We're trying to approve these line items. That's all.
And
Well-
I will add that the easiest way for us up here to, when we think we need to save money, is to scratch vehicles, because we don't know what condition they're really in, so.
Well, might I suggest after we're done with the chief, we move into our enterprise rent-a-car, since Alderman Osteen is here now, and we can have that discussion.
Whenever you want, Mr. Mayor.
On that subject.
After the chief's done.
Anything else on capital replacements? Do you want me to go on into 911 or do we want to?
No, please.
Okay. 911 Center, significant O&M requests, training and conferences, same, the two dispatchers that were on, Felicia's shift, we'd like to send them to National Police Week as well with the rest of the crew when they place their name on the wall. Internet connections, this is one that we've been paying all along, but it's being moved out of IT into the 911 Center budget. It's a dedicated internet line. I believe it's for the radios.
Alderman Hoffman.
So we're sending 6 people to the wall. I'm just, how did you pick who's going?
The officers assigned to, that were actually on her shift.
On her shift,
Yeah.
okay.
So her sergeant, corporal, and the one officer, there was actually another one on, but that's on that shift now, but he'd only worked with Felicia for a couple weeks.
Right, I mean,
And then there.
I know we can't send everybody, but I'm sure everybody would like to go, so I was just wondering what your process was, so,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions? That's all mine.
All right.
Might as well let Kerry do it, he's here.
Oh, you got more answers?
Oh, he's got a request.
He's up next.
Well, do we want to talk about enterprise rent-a-cars, or should we wait?
Let's get Carrie.
Carrie's here.
All right. I didn't know if you want.
Let Kerry get his done.
All right. The consensus is, go ahead, Kerry.
All right. I don't have much, I rarely do. I have what I typically need to run my department. The only thing additional this year is I've requested $2,500 to go to the National Housing Conference in Dallas. I haven't been to a conference since 2016. I don't see a whole lot of use a lot of times in the APA stuff that is put out, but you all know, and you've been around me long enough to know that housing is probably my #1 priority for our community, and not only our community, but for our region. My interest is trying to encourage our surrounding communities and even, the counties to start looking into how they can, help the region with housing. The reason that I want to go to this particular conference is that it is a networking with developers, communities, and different legal firms that go through projects, go through incentives, and go through programs that can allow and help for the development of housing within communities. I've got a few things that I'm running through my own mind currently to maybe look into community co-ops with our surrounding communities, some of which probably legal will have some concerns with, others maybe not, and it's just about trying to get to something where I can get my feet on the ground, and hear what other people are doing, in trying to create ideas within my own mind to try to work towards, better serving our community with housing stuff. So that is 100% why I'm requesting that. But if that 2,500 needs to go towards the fleet or something like that, I'm happy to look on down the road for that as well, so.
Alderman Hoffman.
I am in favor of this, but don't bring back any Dallas Cowboy gear.
You know that one.
Excellent.
Alderman Osteen.
Yeah, that was a hard sell for a no-brainer, because you have never asked for anything above the standard operations costs for your department.
I gotta work on my sales ability.
Good hard sell for a minimum amount to send you on a conference you can probably not attend in years. So that's all.
I appreciate that.
Alderman Rose.
I certainly support it. When is it?
It is in May.
It's May?
Yeah, and it is a Friday and a Saturday, so I will plan to go on a Thursday, and then I'll come back Sunday morning, and,
Whatever it takes.
yes, sir.
Go for it.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you, Mr. Patterson.
all right, let's talk about the fleet. I'm gonna leave.
All right. Well, Alderman Osteen, we talked about this the other day, and we had everything from Osteen's for this, Osteen's against it, to everything in the middle. So not that we're going to make a decision tonight, but we had discussions, myself and some others were kind of in favor of the decision, and some were against it. And this is not a voting situation, but it is something to discuss. We've had everything from the proposal, I believe, was for basically half of our fleets, 29 out of 60, to maybe try 5 the first year, see how it goes. My argument was that it would alleviate the need for an outside mechanic for morale purposes. People could have new vehicles every couple, 3 years. Some of the department heads could take their time to do what they're supposed to do rather than trying to sell vehicles and trying to maintain vehicles. The maintenance schedule was something that they kept track of, and I think some of the other argument against was they're just doing it to make money, and we're better off just to keep the things the way we are. And I mean, they can argue their side much better than I can for them. But Alderman Rucker, did you want to?
I'll yield to Bob, but I have some things I'd like to bring up, but Bob has not had opportunity to speak at all.
Yep.
So we're strictly circling back to this issue because of me,
Yes.
which I find odd.
Well, Bob, one of us said you were in favor and one of us said you were opposed.
Okay, so for the record, I have never been 100% on board with this, but I've never been 100% against it. Initially, my thought was to find a middle ground, was, okay, they have, in my years on this board, this is the second time Enterprise has approached us and given their pitch. And once again, the previous time, I was exactly where I'm at right now. Not for it, not really against it. So let me think through the process. I find it funny that people are speaking on my behalf, yes, no, otherwise. But I was trying to find the middle ground, and initially I was fine with doing this on a smaller scale of, let's give them a shot, a year contract for a specific department or division within the city. But the more I thought through this, the more I'm opposed to it. Because if we give control of our fleet, even on a smaller scale for a specific department, on a short-term basis, if that does not turn out in our favor and we decide to rescind that contract, then what are the costs we're going to assume now to have to replace our entire fleet? Or buy out leases? Or it just seemed, I was fine when I thought through initially of, yes, give them Public Works, give them the police department, let's see how that goes. But what if it doesn't work out for us? What's that going to cost us? What are the costs associated with, once again, buying out those leases or having to replace our fleet? So at the end of the day, I'm a no on Enterprise doing or lease management at this point. I could change my mind though if I found out more hard statistics on if after a year contract, exactly what is our buyout on that? What does it look like for us as far as expenses?
Okay. Alderman Rucker.
Well, we don't have to buy them. We don't have to lease them. It's my understanding we could buy them. So we would be able to avoid that. But I think that there's some questions there, that that you bring up. I've given this a lot of thought in the last couple days. I got a whole page here, and some of it I will try to, cut a little bit short, but I think that safety is something that has to be considered, and this program provides some safety. There's ways that we can possibly modify the program and take a piece of it. And yes, it's a question of if we do that and we're not happy, then how do we get out of that? And I don't think that it's going to be a penalty to us if we buy them because they're ours. But again, I don't have the answer to that. At our last meeting, it was stated that there was some discussion that Alderman Hoffman had, and that Belton and Lebanon and Raytown was three that he had recalled that were opposed to it. Number one, Belton is not in the program and never has been in the program. Number two, Lebanon is not in the program and never has been in the program. Number three, Raytown is not in the program and currently is considering the program. So if the fact that somebody from those cities had conversation and they were opposed to it, okay, they've not been in the program. I believe it was given I understood that these cities had been in the program and got out of it. So that's what I perceived as that information. So they are not in the program. But again, Raytown right now is considering it. Who knows where that's going to go? I don't know where that's, who knows? I know that they've had it presented to them, but that's all I know. I also know that we've got 19 counties in the state that are involved in this program. We have some 36 cities that are involved in this program. And the other thing is I find rather interesting is that we have the state of Missouri. Here is their fleet management service program with Enterprise that they've been in this program since 2018. Their last time that they signed an additional agreement was in 2023, I believe, here, and it goes till 2026. And at that time, obviously, they will get in or get out of the program. And this is available through the Division of Purchasing, similar to I believe, to the program that we have access through our joint purchasing through the state of Missouri. But this is the state of Missouri that's in this program. So there obviously was presented to us the other cities around us that was presented in our packet that are in this program. And of those that I spoke with, I only spoke with two. One of them has been in it just very shortly, so they're pleased, but they've only been in it a very short time. I don't know what that is, but I believe it may be less than 2 years. So, but they're okay with it now, and I don't know to what degree they are in it. I believe that we talk about data. There's a lot of data here that tells us that there's some things that I think we need to consider. I have always been an advocate of the program, not necessarily the entity to take and run the program. And I say by that is having the vehicles that we rotate out after 10 years. Actually, we used to be we used to be around 7 years. But anyway, at 10 years or 100,000 miles. Now we're looking at changing it even, as far as I'm concerned, to make that worse. Because now there's discussion that, and I believe it's the direction the board has given, that we're looking at more mileage and more years. I don't know what that mileage and what that year meant because I couldn't remember that, if it meant 15 years and 150,000 or just what. But now we're extending that out. So the numbers that we were provided and the information we were provided, by going by that, our fleet's going to be older. It's going to have less safety in it because we aren't going to be having the newer vehicles which have all those safety features. The reliability is going to be less because of the older vehicles, and the reliability gets less because they do break more. And that's concerning to me when I'm talking about the snow plows, the police, or the fact that the inspector, whose inspector vehicle is sitting out here and broke, and contractor calls for an inspection and they're delayed, so there's contractors that have carpenters that are maybe held up. We have to understand, we're providing a service. We're not providing the fact of I'd like to go to the movies. We're providing a service. And when we provide that service, we have to provide those employees with the tools. And I believe that we're not providing them with the best tools if we go down this road of raising our vehicles to more miles and older vehicles. Our fleet size is going to have to grow if we go down that road, because now we need more reserve vehicles, because we have to take into account that we have vehicles that are going to be breaking down and possibly having transmissions put in them, having brake jobs done to them, that would more so be done if the vehicle is older as compared to vehicles 3 to 5 to 6 years that typically don't have to have that kind of service done to them. So now we're creating that situation. All in all, I think that it's detrimental that we don't do something towards lessening the years of our vehicles and the mileage. And we could take a piece of this program with them. I do have concerns. There's more questions. I'm not ready to vote on them doing it. I would much rather vote on us establishing a 7 years and 50, 60,000 miles, or 5 years or something in that line, and getting our vehicles turned out. Yes, we're going to be spending more on vehicles, but we're going to be getting more money back when we sell them. So I've always been on that side of this thing. I think it's a program or a philosophy that we are definitely making mistakes by the fact of the philosophy that we're looking forward to. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Alderman Barilla.
I kind of feel like it's moving in an opposite direction than everything else is moving in, for just the fact that, like, we've hired an engineer, we're trying to use outside services for engineering less, we're trying to get building some help so we can use outside services a little bit less in that direction, and this is kind of going the opposite direction. And I think there'd be more cost savings in hiring a full-time mechanic.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Alderman Osteen.
All right, so my last 2 cents on this, I guess, for this moment. I'm a gambling man. I'm always willing to entertain change. I'm always willing to give people a chance. But for some reason, my gut tells me I'm just not sold on this. I have just not been pushed over that 50% mark to go to 50.1 versus 49.9. It's just, I don't know what it is, but it's my gut feeling, though, that this is not in the best interest for the city at this point. Somebody can sell me on this next week, and perhaps I'll change my mind. But the data that I see in front of me right now puts me at a no for this, but I could be swayed. Like I said, I've been on the fence. But as I've already stated, a lot of my questions, though, are looking down the line. What is our contractual obligation? Should we do this incrementally as a small portion? What are the costs associated? Should this not work out for us at all? The numbers that they presented to us as far as savings weren't really true numbers. And I think Alderman Ross brought that up, that these weren't actual savings per se. So I think the numbers were a little skewed on what they presented to us. So I just want to be clear that I found it odd that people were saying I was a yes and that I was a no, but both of them were right. Because I am a yes and a no on this. So somebody sell me harder on it, and I'll change my mind.
Alderman Rose.
I did do some research since I did miss that meeting, and I reached out to Jeff Hooker in Camden and had a very lengthy conversation with him because they had signed up with Enterprise, and he just couldn't say enough goodness about them doing it. He said it's been very well worthwhile. He said what I like about it is that at the end of each year, we have a fixed amount of expense that we know is what it's going to cost us. And he said we've sold vehicles, we get the money back, we can put the money towards the lease payment or just put it as to buy another one or whatever. But I of course, there were so many questions that I was throwing at him, and I was trying to make the notes and a lot of it to absorb, but I really got a very strong positive comment from Jeff. I also reached out to Harrison Fry, and I didn't have a lengthy conversation with him, but I said I would call back of more questions. But he again was very much in favor of it and said, we're so glad that we went ahead and signed up. I just want to let you know there was two entities that we knew they signed, but Jeff Hooker was very, very much in favor of it. Anyway.
Alderman Ross, got anything?
My thoughts haven't changed.
Okay.
I think there's a cost here. Sure, it's a convenience. Sure, it makes it very easy to budget. Don't disagree with that. Or, if I leased a vehicle, I realize I don't have to lease them, but if I leased a vehicle, I would know how much it costs every month. That's right. And whenever I got done with the lease, then I'd have to either get another lease vehicle or I'd have to go buy a new one. Okay? There's a lot of convenience here, but I don't think that there's that much, how would I say, effort on the staff's part to deal with vehicles that they're going to make that much difference in, other than selling. And we can put them out on Purple Wave, and it seems like we can sell vehicles pretty easy on Purple Wave. I don't think it was that complicated. Selling boats and trailers and things and some of the cleanup that I'm sure that with the last time we did it might be a little more complicated, but I would think these are fairly simple. So I still do not support any of them.
Alderman Hoffman.
Just to clarify, Alderman Rucker, the people that I talked to from Belton, from Raytown, that's the reason they weren't in it, because they did their due diligence and they didn't like the program, so they didn't get involved. So it wasn't that they got involved and they wish they hadn't, it's that they chose not to because that's where their data got them. I'm somewhere between Bob and Richard. I'm not a hard no, but I'm a most likely no, because at the end of the day, there's definitely a cost involved in this. And essentially, they are using our fleet to make money by swapping out vehicles. And we are just at their mercy of, well, we can make money on this vehicle right now. We should swap it out and sell it and get you guys a new one. Sure, it's convenient and you've got new vehicles, but are they saving us money? I don't buy that for a second.
Well, since this is a budget workshop, and it doesn't look like we have the support to proceed, so I don't see any reason why we need to further discuss it this time, since it's a budget workshop, unless,
I would recommend, from a staffing side, that I don't think it's 100% off the table. Maybe at this budget session, we're not given the green light to move forward with it, but it doesn't mean we can't circle back to it in a couple months. I don't think anybody's.
well, for this year's budget, yeah, a decision needs to be made one way or another how to do it budget-wise, so.
I think the consensus is it's not in the cards for us at this point, but doesn't mean we can't circle back to it.
For next year, yeah. But unless anybody disagrees with my explanation, doesn't sound like we have the support to change anything. So, we good? All right, thank you, everybody.
5-minute break.
10-minute break.
Okay. Oh, break time? Okay, it's 4:35. Is 10 minutes good?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go on break till 4:45. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Turn it back over to City Administrator Devin Lake, please.
Okay, so our next department is engineering, so I'll turn it over to Drew.
Well, as you know, went from a department of 0 to potentially a department of 5 next year. So these are just kind of some of the costs that I see for outfitting for field personnel and just increasing the department size so that we can reduce outside services. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Ross.
I'm not sure that this is the right place for questions, but there was a comment about, that I made earlier in a previous meeting that we should try to look for and hire, for lack of a better term, an engineering training out of college. Has there been any more thought to that? Is that somewhere else that we should talk about that?
We can talk about it now, if that's something that you guys would like to entertain adding as a position. Or maybe entertain doing one EIT and one construction inspector. I don't, Drew, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, just looking briefly at the our on-call consultants, the amount of hours that we're being charged right now just for construction inspection is somewhere in the realm of 2 personnel for 160 hours a month, almost every month, which is basically full-time employment. I would not say no to an assistant or some sort of engineering training so that we can continue having, the engineering department grow and help. Can absolutely consider that. I don't know if that was a position we've had in the past.
Well, once upon a time, the engineering department was a PE, at least, and that was the city engineer, if you will. There was at least 2 either EITs or PEs, depending on where they were in the process. At times, on top of, there was also a department secretary. I don't know about inspectors, okay, so I'm not sure where that was at, all right? And there was times when anywhere from 1 to 2, call them co-ops, I think. Some people would call them interns, but I know my daughter did that here. It was like 6 months or something. And they learned some things, and they did surveying and things like that that helped the city out. And so I think that, I don't really know the math because I don't know the work, but it feels to me like that there's ways for us to be at least as good, if not better, from not only a financial standpoint, but from a services standpoint to grow the engineering department past 1 PE.
Sure, yeah, there's definitely room for the city to take up some of the slack right now. Besides the airport, I think that's a really niche sort of area, but otherwise the city right now consults with 5 different consulting firms, all from full design all the way through construction inspection. There's definitely room to grow the department for more than just 2 construction inspectors. There definitely be room for engineering.
I don't know what others on the board think. I would just say this, one of the reasons I'm bringing it up now is not that you would necessarily hire somebody starting, or, put it out in December and hire somebody in January unless you got lucky somebody came out in December. But the idea generally is, and you may have a different idea, is to try to get somebody coming out of college that you could bring in and, groom them and mold them and so forth.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead, that's
yeah,
all right.
The idea, I've been through some recruiting from MoDOT, and generally, most of the recruiting for a new grad or, an engineer in college, a co-op or intern or what have you, generally advertising would start in the very late winter, early spring, so that you could, because those kids want something lined up. They want to know that they have a job. They want to know they have an internship come May.
Mm-hmm. Alderman Rucker.
A couple of things. First of all, if I understand, you're talking about on top of these 2, maybe start looking at expanding more?
So I'm talking about engineers versus inspectors.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so far we're talking about inspectors, GIS locator, and then I saw a note here where we absorbed.
Yeah, the locator.
the
Yeah,
locator.
yeah, a GIS
tech.
technician
The
and a
GIS tech, which,
location, yeah,
not
location
sure I
specialist.
get all that, but I guess he keeps the GIS system up so that the locator can go tell people where utilities are, but somewhere all that works in there somehow.
More
So,
or less.
Yeah, I know, that's probably
No,
very
that's-
crude.
that's
but,
fine.
A description from an accuracy standpoint. My point is, Kevin, that, to try to put in perspective, when Lee Schumann worked here, for example, as in the engineering department, he was an engineer. He was not a PE, he couldn't sign and stamp stuff, but at the same time, he could do drawings, he could do a lot of things, he could support the engineer, he could, he could design. And I'm not sure the best place to start. When Stacy was here, who now works for Lee, she had the ability to do design. She was always called a project manager because she didn't have an engineering degree. And I'm not even sure, I think she might have been called a CAD tech at one point in time. But the point is that that's stuff, all of those kinds of things and I realize it's going to take a while. It takes a long time to grow a department, okay? And you got to start somewhere. But I just think that and I appreciate the fact that Drew is looking at the low-hanging fruit. How do I make an impact quickly? Low-hanging fruit right now is the inspectors, okay? But there's also some other things that we could start working on, and assuming that they have the capability to bring somebody on and do them justice as well as them do us justice, then I think that we should consider putting another headcount in the budget for an engineer, not necessarily a PE, okay? It could be an EIT. Engineering training is the first 4 years that you work under a PE so that you can qualify to take the test and become a PE. And so that's what Lee was for a while while he was here. I don't know if he got his PE while he was here or after he left. There were several others that were through here like that also. We used to keep two of those types in that department. And I know we probably couldn't bring on two. I'm not sure one's more than we can ask for, but if we feel like we could bring that on, then I think we should plan for it. And if we get lucky, at least we've got a head count. We can make an offer to somebody that might want to come to work for the City of Osage Beach as an engineer.
The question I have along that lines is, and I don't know if we have the people here to answer it, but when we were in that situation a number of years ago, who did the inspection? See, I thought that some of the people you're talking about were here, but then I thought Lloyd did the inspections that he's looking at. I'm not saying that we couldn't do it where they do the inspection, but Lloyd, didn't we have that plus Lloyd doing the inspections?
My understanding is that Lloyd at one time did both, or some level of both, in building, and he went back and forth between public works, engineering, building, and so forth over the time. And when Cochran, my understanding is when Cochran came on, a conscious decision was made that Cochran would be doing all the construction inspections and nobody else would be. Once I found that out, I was very frustrated, I'll be honest with you, but I let it alone because many different things. But yeah, I think we have a lot of capacity in inspectors right now, let alone the construction inspectors, but that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah, we just looked at the department to see, what was the low-hanging fruit? How can we grow the department? How can we better serve the city? And this was just, the two construction inspectors was a good first step, and was just trying to get a handle on the different consultants and different services that we are contracting out for to better. I've not grasped all of that yet and how many hours we're getting charged, but from what I can tell, the amount of work that the city is contracting out vastly far exceeds anything that I think that the city could probably handle by itself without a rather large department. So just need direction, maybe even a long-term plan of what the city wants to see happen. And I don't think that we can continue the rate of capital investment with just even myself and 3 others and maybe even draftsmen. Because what I can tell, just rough numbers, the city pretty much keeps, with all the different consultants, just designers, a staff of 12 to 24 people busy every month, all month, from what I can tell. So.
I support what Alderman Ross is laying out. I think that's a really good opportunity to get someone young, to get institutional knowledge of Osage Beach. It's really a new department now, So if we could get someone in there, and institutional knowledge in Osage Beach to me is very important because it's just we have unique problems in Osage Beach, and I think that's a good way to get someone in and grow the department.
Alderman Rucker?
A couple things I wanted to follow up that I did we got off mine, but anyway. First of all, the fact that we have these other engineering firms, they don't cost us any money unless we use them. So the idea behind the fact, I don't think we need to eliminate them no matter how many people you get in your engineering department, because these are contracts so that when all of a sudden you need that service, whatever it may be, some expertise in any of our departments, and they have different disciplines that some of them are more expertise in the airport, some are more expertise in the sewer, and et cetera. So we need to maintain them because I believe that's the whole reason we put them there as a resource to be used. Now we're using them as a resource because we don't have the in-house people. If we get more in-house people, we still need to keep that availability if we need it, because all of a sudden when our staff leaves us, we still got to have the service. So eliminating that contractual ability to use them, I fully support maintaining that, number one. Number two, I have concerns that if these two people coming on board are inspectors and that's all they're going to be doing, you know, I've been in this area a long time, and it goes up and it goes down. I mean, they're busy right now, but then all of a sudden they're not. So if they're limited to that, what are you going to do with them? Okay,
So-
that's where I think, as Alderman Ross had indicated, some people that have that ability, because I believe Stacy had the ability, at least I think she did a lot of inspections of our projects. You know, a lot. Now I don't think she did stuff of outside, but I think she did a lot of the inspection work and of our own projects. So I think having that person that has that ability, as Alderman Hoffman says, you know, that ability to maybe start out in that area, but project themselves up. And I think by looking at the amount of money that we are spending or projecting to spend on engineering fees next year, that we need to look at it, what we can bring in. And I realize that's, you know, how much do we put into the budget? The only thing I can say is, this is what we've got. My suggestion is we move forward with this. My suggestion is on these two construction inspectors, you try to get somebody that sounds like they're wanting to aspire to be more. And, you know, and there's nothing saying that we can't amend the budget 3, 4, 5 months down the road when you've gotten this under control and you've gotten this moving, and add another engineer at that point and take away some of those other engineer fees. We don't have to wait till the next budget year to grow that department. I think we have to grow it at a rate that's not too fast and not too slow, and that's really difficult to say what that is not too fast and what too slow is. So I support it, just don't know what speed.
Okay,
Can I ask this question?
absolutely.
Does anyone have any concerns with doing this? Okay. Thank you.
If we're going to add another position for an EIT, I might have to amend some more items because,
I don't think we need to, my thought is, we don't have to add another position right now.
Right.
I think that we should consider, what I'm asking is, anyone have a concern about for adding a position, for example, 9 months next year or something, they probably wouldn't be starting until May or something if we even got started and so forth. 6 months, 9 months, but have something in the budget. So we don't have to necessarily hire anybody if we can't find the right person. We can't, you know, 2 inspectors, getting them on board was more than we thought or whatever. But we've got some ability, so if you happen to have time and go to Rolla or MU in Columbia and find somebody that would be interested in working for us and coming to work for you as an engineer in training, that we don't necessarily have to step back and go to the board and get a budget amendment and so on and so forth, that there's some type of placeholder there if we want that. That's what I was hoping we could accomplish.
Alderman Osteen.
Would we still need job description, pay level grades?
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Oh, you would.
And when would that come about?
Before, I would hope.
And we should be able to show that we're going to be offsetting it by the fact that we've budgeted for engineering fees. You know, all these lift stations and stuff that we said we got to do it. Well, you know, we should be able to offset that.
I'm on board on this, but
That's not generally how
minutia of how
I understand.
consulting
There's
services
a lot of
work.
moving pieces.
Right.
Can I respond to that, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
So one thing I would say is that, and I think Drew understands it, we got to think of this way too. You hire somebody in May and they start in June, let's just say they're a May grad, okay? They're not going to be probably replacing anything for Cochrane for at least 3 to 6 months. Okay, it just takes a while to get up to speed. But you got to start somewhere and you got to make some initial investments up front, so. That's all I have.
So, and to address your concern, I think you're thinking of kind of an on-call situation that we can have a consultant do just hourly work and then have them submit what's done. And that's not generally how consulting services work. It's usually a per project, see it all the way through sort of deal. So if we did, say, hire an engineer, say halfway through the year, I don't think, we would see any savings. And there would be increased costs of computers and software and all the overhead stuff that you would have for an engineer. I'm not trying to talk you out of it. I'm just trying to relate the reality of the situation. I just want to hedge expectations that without a larger department, I don't know that we pick up very much slack from the professional services line item.
I guess the question I have is if you're going to put it in the budget just as a placeholder and not put the job out there, you're just going to hope to run across somebody? I mean.
My point is that if you have it in the budget, then assuming that they have the ability, and that's where someone needs to raise their hand and go, to inspectors, all we can bring on, that's all we can really put together in 1 year, then okay, say so. But
Well,
if I can finish, but at the end of the day, if in fact we feel like that there's an opportunity, I want staff to be able to take hold of that opportunity, work to come back and having a long discussion, and, you know, we need to see a job description, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It wouldn't be a place, I mean, it's a placeholder so that they have flexibility to do what they think they can do. If you guys don't think that that's why I talked about capacity earlier, if you don't think you have the capacity to bring one on, then we can move on.
So from a budget standpoint, I was going to address this at the end, but I have some concerns in regards to general fund at the moment. We're only estimating an increase in revenue of $200,000, and raises alone is $500,000, and the 4 new positions in general fund is an additional almost $300,000. So I'm going to need some guidance, and you guys can think about this over the rest of the presentation, but I'm going to need to know where you're going to want to make those hard determinations. It's either going to have to be in capital or it's going to have to be in personnel. So adding another position is going to make that deficit even worse.
And I guess the only thing I caution is that, and I understand 100% what you're saying, but if we're waiting until June, but we put it in the budget in January, I would hate to not throw anything out, you know, for 6 months. We basically have it as a placeholder, but we don't throw it out there for a job opportunity for somebody.
You can, I guess I would just say this, you can now advertise whenever you want. I mean, what you do is you budget for 6 or 9 months worth of salary and benefits is what you do. If you started advertising the second day of January, whatever, assuming that that's a work day, you're probably not going to hire somebody and have them in place for at least 60 or 90 days anyway. Okay, that's the idea. But I will just say this. I forget how many positions, I didn't know that we approved them. I just know that we talked about a lot of things. I didn't know that we kind of approved the payroll stuff, and I'm not sure that without seeing all the numbers, that was one of the challenges with this new way of doing it, which still may work out better. I'm not complaining at all, okay? But I will just say this, as far as new positions, this one's got the best return on investment of any new positions I've heard of so far.
Alderman Rucker.
I would just say, based on what Devin has just said, is my understanding here that we were having this workshop and giving some directions on what we felt about this, that, and other. And then staff was going to go back and look at all of what we did and then bring back a proposed budget. You're big boys and girls. You got some responsibilities to bring that back and tell us where you think. We told you what our wish lists were, or you gave us the wish list. We put some priorities into it. Then I'm waiting for you to come back and say, based on all that, we suggest we do this and this and this and this, and these are the capitals and these are the people, and this is our suggestion. And then we look at that and say, well, you know what? I disagree with this capital. I want to remove item number 2 completely. I want to take item 4 and move it up. But that's the next process. That's the way I visualize what's going on here. Again, new process that we haven't been down, but that's kind of where I thought this was going.
Right, and
I see a lot of heads shaking with my other aldermen.
Right, and I agree with that, but I got a very clear idea that the raises and the premium and the merit raise and all of that, that was something that you guys were very hard fast on. Is that, am I
I guess you
reading that
heard well.
correct?
We'll see how well you can make it work.
All right.
Alderman Ross.
I don't know that I'm not trying to open up a can of worms that everybody thought was closed. Everything that I said was based on the fact that we could make all the numbers work, okay? And so I'm not saying that, for example, the Park Pavilion is more important or less important than the raises, okay? I have a concern with what we discussed that night, that we are about to implement what looks like a consistent cost of living increase, which we have never historically done, okay? But we have at times recognized that we were uncompetitive in the labor market, and so we increased some things, okay? What my conversation around is that if we're going to do something, okay, this is what I would suggest we're going to do. I just want to be real clear. I am not pushing that if we're going to do something, that's what I think we should do. I'm not convinced, because of seeing all the numbers and how everything's going to pan out, that we can do any of all of that, okay, because you're right. But I also haven't seen the end of the year necessarily, what kind of money's going to be left over, because we didn't see some things. There's a lot of different moving factors. And so, you know, I appreciate and understand your role as trying to understand what 6 people want, make them all happy at the same time.
Yep.
But you got to take your best shot, and we'll help you figure it out from there.
All right, you got it. Moving on to IT, Mr. Bean.
All right, big ticket item on my slide is the professional services has doubled from 100,000 to 200,000. That's just based on the fact that we wasn't sure where the bids were going to come back at the RFQ that we have out, that I will be bringing to you guys at the next board meeting. Any questions over this? I'll be happy to answer.
Alderman Ross.
I understand what support services are. That's the /.
That is correct, sir.
So what are the professional services?
I'm sorry?
So the professional services how are they different than /?
They are / currently, they will not be.
Okay, then maybe I've got it confused, I'm sorry. Maintenance and support systems of 388,000, is that different than professional services?
It is, that's all of our ongoing costs, $100,000 in all of our in-code modules per
Okay.
se, and then everything
okay.
else that keeps us running software-wise.
Sorry, I understood / to be a support function, so that's why I didn't quite connect the dots.
Yes, sir. That's
Now I understand.
Professional services.
Thank you.
But we doubled it up to 200,000, just kind of a catch-all. We have, like I said, we found a managed service that we are going to bring to you guys at the board meeting for approval.
Alderman Hoffman.
So if we're losing /, is that essentially why it's going to be more expensive? Is it fiscally responsible to keep them on? I'm a little confused by.
But we're losing / because they didn't bid on our most recent RFQ, but we changed what we're doing. And over 5 years, IT has gotten a little bit more expensive like anything else.
Sure.
Right now, we are not going out to bid for help desk services per se. We're going out for cybersecurity, which I can't stress to you enough how important that is. Networking, which Travis and I are not we don't specialize in. And then our new phone system that was brought on site last year, 18 months ago, that there was no cost increase. / obviously there is moving forward to get a telephone administration behind that.
Do you-
Those three things specifically.
Do you know why / didn't bid on it?
They were under the impression that we were going to just extend them out another 5 years. They did not feel it was necessary, or they did not want to go through the bidding process again. Again, I believe someone was telling them that we were just going to extend, and I think they felt some level of betrayal when we went out to bid.
Okay, thanks.
Alderman Osteen.
And once again, just to clarify for the record, we're throwing darts at a dartboard with blindfold on. We've not got any bids for what the service is going to cost us, so that $200,000 could be $250, it could be $150.
Yes.
We don't know.
That is correct, Bob, but actually, we do have some sort of numbers because we got the numbers in last week. So come at the board meeting, I'll be able to give you more of a definite that all of us have decided. But it will be less than 200,000 for sure. But when this was put together 3 weeks ago, we had no idea. So it's truly shooting in the dark there.
I just want to clarify, because a lot of what we're discussing tonight, it's unknowns.
That is
We're guessing on a lot of these costs. That's a big one there. If you look at the 100, 200, well, that's not necessarily true numbers. It's just estimating things we don't have numbers for.
Right.
We don't know.
Yeah, and just a kind of a quick mindset, out of respect of time, the help desk wise, and Chief Davis could elaborate on this, / was limited on what they could provide us. So with Travis being here now, we felt it was more of a benefit to bring everything back in at layer 1 and layer 2 support. The police and the ambulance have never really utilized in the 5 years we've had / So again, I think what I'll present to you guys will make more sense as long as, like I said, we focus on the importance of cybersecurity.
Alderman Rucker.
I just want to be clear that / I believe has done us a good job, but I'm very upset with them, the fact that they don't realize that we are a municipal government. We went down the same argument with our sewer board, with a company that we're using with the sewer board, and some of them, not all of them, were a little offended when we talked about the fact that it's our responsibility, it's our fiduciary responsibility to periodically put this thing out to bid. Now, how often is the magic number, but I applaud the fact that we have to put it out there every so often, because that's our duty and our job. And the fact that they're offended by the fact that we have to do that, I'm sorry. That's you're doing your job, what you're supposed to be doing, Michael. That's your job and the staff's responsibility to do that. And the fact that they're choosing to not even put a bid in, that's not good. And I would very much tell them to their face that that's not good business. So I support what you're doing. Unfortunately, if it's going to cost us some more money, we have to do that.
Alderman Hoffman.
I would echo everything Alderman Rucker just said. I think it's alarming even that they would not rebid it, almost as if they don't want to be exposed for not having provided good service for the amount of money they were paid. So I also applaud you for putting this back out. And yes, it is our fiscal responsibility to do this, for them to be appalled that we promised them something and think that they're just going to get it. That's just crazy to me. So thank you, Mr. Bean, for doing your job.
Thank you. My final slide is capital replacements. $47,000 is end-of-life replacements on some switches that are over on the police side and in Public Works. Alderman Ross and I just had a conversation about past its end-of-life cycle. These have met that, and we are having networking issues based on these switches. So I just want to provide a little bit of clarity here that these do need replacement because some of the networking issues we are seeing. The $17,000 in backups, those are our UPSs that we utilize behind all of the 911 center and here at City Hall, where if we lose power, it is that transition between the grid and over to the generator, where there is a break in power. Obviously, a hard crash on switches and servers are detrimental many a time. So this is the replacement of these racks, or these battery rows that we've had for 10 years. They're 6 years past their life expectancy. Yes, ma'am.
The switch replacements, are they just outdated? Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. Each one of the switches that we had, we purchased prior to / with a company called Infinitet. And these Dell switches that are at both PD and Public Works have met their life expectancy and are now starting to have issues as well. So they definitely will need to be replaced. Now, this $47,000 is an estimate that / came up with. I would like to come back to you guys with more savings with our new managed service provider that maybe finds a more reasonable amount.
How many would there approximately be?
That's 4 there. 2.
I'm sorry?
4. There's 2 at Public Works and 2 at the police department.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, moving on to economic development. Jamie had approached me about wanting to do some additional advertising, so I kept the TCLA agreement of $25,000 in there not to be renewed, but to encourage the marketing and promotion of our community through the economic development position, as well as the public information officer. Any questions in regards to that?
I guess my question is that this would be advertising, because it would be Osage Beach advertising.
Correct.
Okay. And would it generally be implemented by the economic development position?
I think it would be shared between that person and Jamie, because Jamie has some ideas for advertising as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next thing on economic development is, and I'll let Rob and Zach speak to this as well, but I think we would like to replace the banners along the parkway. They're kind of looking terrible, and we thought maybe this might be an opportunity for there to be kind of a design competition in the community for involvement. I'll let them speak to that.
Yeah, so the banners, they are years old. From the recent designs, the material itself, the vinyl that we were purchasing isn't a very high quality. So we see them ripped in the first season, definitely by the second season, we see a lot of issues. So the idea is, okay, we've got to buy all new banners. Do we change up the design of them? And going forward, we think we got enough banners to be able to maintain one half of the city. So we can get schools on board or some other community entity to do a design program where we select one, maybe half of the city gets picked, those banners get put up that year. The second year is the other half of the city, and it's just kind of this flip-flop deal where it's community engagement piece, and the banners will stay up for 2 years. And then this kind of, that one is up for 1 year, that one's the second year, this one will be at the second year, and the new one goes up in its first year. So just kind of a constant engagement. Every year something new is going up. Hopefully it's some good participation out of it with the local schools we were thinking, but that was our overall idea is now that the banners are this, it's kind of worked out of this lower grade vinyl that they are going to rip and be replaced. Maybe we can move this program into something else. A portion of this money is for graphics as well, to replace some of the graphics.
Alderman Rose.
We've had those banners up, and honestly, I've not been impressed with them. A lot of them have faded. I just don't think they're that obvious for the kind of money that we're putting them in. And I'm almost at the point that say, do we really need them? I think it's a great, advertisement, so to speak. But perhaps maybe just have some things just for holidays, and not just all the time, but I know that means more labor to put something up and down. Or go back to the community if they want to, if there's something major happening as far as an attraction, then land-based it and put something up for advertising on it. But otherwise, to spend this kind of money for banners that I just don't think they're worth it. That's my opinion.
Alderman Umbrella.
Where are these banners at? I'm sorry, I didn't realize where.
They'll be on every third light pole along the parkway. So they're about the 7 foot tall. They're blue, green, yellow, bow, diamond glow.
Each ring
fishing.
Every year, like, we'll pretty much get
Alderman Hoffman, you're done.
From Memorial Day to Labor Day, and then they come down and the snowflakes go over the winter.
Alderman Hoffman, you're chomping at the bit.
I mean, I didn't know where they were either. So if I'm not even noticing them, what is the point of spending $10,000 to put more of them out? That's all.
Alderman Ross.
I'll just say that I don't think that they make much of a difference. The Christmas lighting, I think people notice that at night because it's darker, longer, and they stand out. The others just don't have that ability to do so. And as much as they're a nice cute thing, I'd say it the easiest way to know how to say it, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. And at the end of the day, I don't see that it's that critical that we move forward with banners. Plus the hidden cost of the time that the transportation department takes to store them and get them back out and so on and so forth.
Well, and what I was going to say too, and it sounds like everybody's in agreement as well, but as soon as you're saying that, Alderman Morose, I was thinking a lot of times the purpose of a banner is to get people to come here while they're already here. And half the board hasn't seen them. So
I saw the snowflakes.
I'm in total agreement. So Alderman Osteen.
I'm gonna agree, I'm against banners, mainly because I'm worn out about them, because we spent months 2 years ago talking about the banners that are currently up there, and we spent 22,000 off the top of my head on those banners.
Could have been.
It
was close to it.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was about $22,000. And literally, we
All
spent
right.
months designing those banners, and here it is 2 years later, and they're all tattered and rotting, so I'm on board with not replacing them.
Alderman Rucker.
Well, it's kind of like putting a bow on the present for Christmas. Okay, you can wrap your presents up and put them under the tree, or you can wrap them up and put a bow on them and add a little extra beauty to it. That's kind of the way I look at it. It does decorate the city up, but unfortunately, I remember years ago, many years ago, we got a lot more time out of them. We weren't replacing them every couple of years. Matter of fact, I remember the one time we replaced them and they were like 5 or 6 years old. So, you know, unfortunately, the replacement value and obviously the putting them up, but is expensive. But they do, you know, they do put the icing on the cake. I will have to say that, and that's where I've always been a supporter of it. But now that we're replacing them so frequently, I tend to feel like maybe there's a better bang for our buck someplace else.
Very good.
Again, on those significant increases over 5%, training and conferences went from 12 to 15. Along with World of Concrete, Missouri Common Ground Alliance is in there again, as Eric had mentioned. The MACTO conference that they go to, the APWA Snow Conference, and one CDL makes up that 15,340. Uniforms and rental increased, just similar to how everybody else's price went up, average about $2,000 an individual. You move that to 16,000. Oh, vehicle maintenance was originally budgeted at 25. It will be over 50 by the end of the year. We're projected at 55. Had some different employees. We lost a pretty good employee last year. They did a lot of in-house things for us, so we had to recoup a lot of costs. Also had some major breakdowns and things, and that's why that number is getting so high. It's hard to determine or see when or where things are going to break down, but the fleet isn't any younger, and so it's probably a fair estimate that with seeing how the previous 3 years have been going, that $50,000 in maintenance can be expected. We noticed the same thing with the equipment repair line item that was earlier this year. That doubled as well. Rental and lease went from 1,800 to 10,000. The Robin Street Department, they want to use get a dozer and clean off the back lot at Public Works. It's been a while since it's been done. There's been a lot of trees grow up. Just prefer to rent a dozer for a week and make it happen. We're just messing around with the small stuff that we have. Mobile devices and services, this is just a projections on full employment, what we can expect, somewhere around $8,500 for the supplements that we have. Supplies, this item was just a little light compared to the other departments. We went ahead and moved that up on par. It will project out around $3,500, so from 2,000 to 35. This is just a general catch-all for things that won't fit in small tools or, I guess the equipment repair lines. Road repair and maintenance, from 80,000 to 100,000. Road repair's going up, we also like to buy a pallet of crack seal as well, or 5 pallets of crack seal. We move that closer to $100,000. Paint, got enough paint and beads in the budget to paint the whole city. So this year, with our new painter coming in, we did get a lot of things painted. Next year, we want to go ahead and paint the entire city. And that's what that $38,000 will go towards. Yes, sir.
When you say the entire city, what do you mean? Like all of our buildings? Or City Hall, or?
No, lines, paint striping, sorry.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, so right now, the general rule of thumb is the parkway gets painted every year, and then half of the city gets painted 1 year. So 2 years between getting painted and the parkways every year.
Right, so you're just talking about striping, basically?
Striping,
Okay.
arrows, stop bars.
Does that include this parking lot out here?
This one's a little different than it's private.
Okay.
This was done whenever, I mean, we painted, it was just done whenever it was.
Overlaid.
This number doesn't include that.
Okay.
You're talking about my apartment spaces.
Yeah, out here in this parking lot, because I know it was, I don't know if it was done wrong or if they just used weak paint or whatever it was, but, so I just didn't know if it was the quality of paint, yeah.
We can do that with this machine, but we're just talking about striping Parkway and all city streets.
Right, and I'm just assuming that this is gonna need to get done at some point, and I didn't know if if that would cover this, or is it the same paint? It is the same paint? Okay, thanks.
So did we do crack filling in 2024 that was it lines up with the maintenance, or the pavement maintenance plan?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so
We did
we're still on,
finish,
I'm sorry?
Finish, but we did get most of the roads, but we did not get all the roads that we had on the payment plan.
So would you say we got 80, 90% or 10 or 20?
Probably about 70%.
Okay. Do we expect to be able to complete that this year and catch up?
Yes, we can.
Okay. That's all I have.
There's a lot less roads this year than there was last year.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You can keep that one. Just keep talking. Small capital request. This is our 3 solar streetlights. There was a request to put a streetlight at a college in Bradford, which we were going to originally just try these solar streetlights out. The electric itself isn't close, and the boring to get it there was rather expensive. So 3 lights, $10,000 a piece.
I'm sorry, could you click the next one?
Oh, sorry about that.
Thank you.
There, sorry. Yep, 30 grand for the solar street lights. I know. I'll hold it. And then there was some issues with the public works. The cameras that we installed, they don't have good visual in the tree line at night, so we're going to put a couple lights back there just to give the cameras better view of that area at night. It could be reduced down to 2, but this would be just an attempt to, can we put streetlights in an area where the power isn't available to give that kind of security to the citizens. Dedicated mower trailer. Our trailer fleet is older and it's big. So the triple axle we have and the big tandem, They're rather large, and you need the bigger trucks to pull them around. They're just cumbersome. The one smaller trailer that we have right now rolls great, but it's just like the ramp decks are weird, and they're coming apart, and the guys got to kind of do the maintenance on them, put them back together. So just having that, kind of like how you'd see every other contractor. You can pull your mowers on, you've got your weed eaters hung on it, everything's ready to go. More of a efficient, professional-looking setup. And then that 15 grand is to retrofit the existing trucks we have for tarps. We've had some issues with hauling material in the 550s. They're not tarped, cracked windshields, those kind of incidents over the years. I'm just looking to rectify that.
I'm not understanding that. Can you say that again? The 15 grand for tarps for 4 existing dump trucks?
So the tarps on the back that cover up the load, they're not on our trucks right now, on our smaller fleet.
I got you. Okay.
So we crack a couple windshields every year and get some complaints, yep.
Better be some nice tarps. They're pretty expensive.
Oh, yeah, they are. And then you figure you got stainless steel rollers in the wheel rail. I mean, they're automatic.
Oh, so it's all the stuff that hooks up to them, and there's more than just the tarps.
The retrofit.
That makes sense, okay.
Zach, one question.
Yes, sir.
The dedicated motor trailer, that's just for convenience and appeal? It's not a...
Oh, yeah. We mow the grass every day without it during the summertime. Can we make it more efficient? Can we just get one where we can pull with a 250 where the guys don't have to use the dump truck kind of deal? I don't know. Yeah, it's a nicety.
So kind of a throwaway request.
Right, yeah. If the money's available, we'd like to have it, but it can,
Thank you.
low-hanging fruit. That's all you. Big items. This is a Mower Max boom mower, which we replaced the John Deere tractor.
Whoa.
It is a dedicated boom mower, price tag of $302,000. The boom mower on the John Deere tractor works if you're very careful and very delicate with it. If not, you will bend the arms, and then it's not as efficient. It's kind of cumbersome. Like, it can do its job, and it can catch you on the side. It can get the side of the road and cut it. But this boom mower is dedicated. Picture it like with an excavator arm reaching out and cutting as it's going, reaching farther down the slopes, getting behind guardrails, just doing a better job of cleaning up. There's attachments for it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but snowplow, blower, flail mower. And I think it's more of a rugged, it'll go places that a tractor won't go to. So cleaning up our easements that we haven't touched. I mean, there's a mile-long easement that goes out to the sewer treatment plant. I don't know the last time that's been cut. And it's just one of those, you need a machine that we can get down there and clean all that stuff up, so if there ever is a problem, it doesn't take us 4 or 5 days to get to it. There's another big easement that's looking bad, the Bluff and Columbia connecting water lines. There's a bunch around the city, but that would be, cutting the grass, getting the side hills, behind the guardrails, cleaning up the easements, and then you can put a snowplow blade on it as well. So it's very multi-purpose.
Zach, what are you going to do with the old one?
We're gonna sell her.
Sell it?
Trade her,
Okay.
yep.
Alderman Ross?
Do we have any kind of, what the used value of the old one is, best guess? So in other words, what's the differential here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not.
How old is it? The current one?
The current mower? Current mower is unknown to me, but the tractor, it's probably, well, it was here before me too, so it's at least 8 years old.
Okay, thanks.
I guess I'll touch on what Zach was talking about on that. There's a lot of areas that we would like to get cleaned up to make the city look a lot better, on our ditches that we cannot mow. So this would work out better. Our tractor side of things, you can run it. We've bent the arms at least a couple times on it, maybe more than that. That's around $3,000 a pop every time they bend them. So the tractor with the attached mower, it really, it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
Because it will, you know, for the operator, because the operator's always looking back, and you know how people walk in the city and stuff, it will throw stuff all over. So I kind of took it out of, I won't let the guys run it on the mower side of things, I think it's just a safety hazard. We got close to, we broke windows before in businesses with it. We got close to hitting a pedestrian one time, and then we bent the arms at least a couple times, and I said, we're not gonna use this anymore. So, don't get me wrong, the tractor we use for brush hog, we got a boom or a bucket for it, we use that, and we use it for snow plow. We got a snow plow attachment that we made. We still use the tractor and a blower on the back of the tractor, we still use it. This will replace it though, because you can plow snow with it, because we can put a blade on the front of it, we can put a blower on the back of it, we can do everything with it just a little better. As far as reaching over guardrails, we don't mow behind guardrails because this tractor won't reach behind it. Now, the one that we got here, the mower max, will extend up. But it is a heavy price tag, I understand.
One point of clarity, so what you guys are proposing here, are you keeping any of the current John Deere tractor? Are you keeping that tractor? Okay, so all of it's going.
Everything's going, yes,
Okay.
correct.
2 dump trucks following that up. $250,000 for a 35,000-pound single axle. This would be a replacement. We have 2 large dump trucks, the 2 Internationals that most likely you've seen them plowing the parkway, the big movers, the big blades, and the big spreaders in the back. That will replace truck 66. Low mileage truck. It's in the 40,000, you know, it's 45, 46,000 miles on it. It's a 2012. The partner truck to it is on the, it's flatlined right now because it's rusted on the dump supports where it comes on the hinges. It's separated totally. So we can't even use it for hauling rock anymore because, yeah, it has low mileage on it, but it is not safe anymore to use for dumping purposes. So one of those instances where the miles don't really equate to the condition of the vehicle itself. And then we also just got this vehicle back, 66 back from Rush for a fuel leak. They're air leaks. I mean, we've had a lot of issues with those Internationals over the years.
Yeah, we're having a lot of rust problems on them, not counting our 550s too, same age, just age. They just live in salt, they live in dirt, you know. Don't matter how many times we clean them, which we clean them, the guys do a very good job of it.
It will be stainless.
It's just, like you said, it's like Zach quoted right there, we're looking into like stainless beds and stuff like that, stainless oil pans, stuff like that, that would make it last longer.
Are they rusting out because we store them outside all the time?
I would agree, probably some of that, true, but it's just the salt.
Okay.
I mean, when you wash a truck, it turns into salt water, you know?
Sure.
You just keep going, you know, so.
I'm just wondering if, I've seen these, the metal overhangs, kind of like just a makeshift garage. I think there's one actually out at the airport that we use to store something under. I just wondered if that would help. That seems like a low-cost thing to at least extend the life of these vehicles a little bit.
We have got 4 carports right now that we keep a lot of our equipment under, and we're gonna add 2 more.
Okay.
The F-550s are always stored inside, and correct me if they're not in any better shape than these 2 trucks. So, I mean, we've got over half of our fleet is stored inside, and it's still just as bad as these 2.
Okay, thanks.
So you were saying that obviously the salt, and I understand that, but you're looking at this newer one would be having some things that would help alleviate that problem with some different types of coating or different kinds of beds or
Stainless steel.
some things that would hopefully not put us in this situation in the future.
Yes, sir.
One last thing. Just a worst-case scenario type thing here. If you had to pick one of the two, which one is the priority
Which one?
of the two trucks?
International.
The bigger truck? Okay.
Yeah, you only have, well, we got permission to do that tandem earlier, well, maybe in the middle of this year, which should be delivered in December. But as far as pushing snow off the parkway, we only got two options. You can do it with the 550s, but man, you got to buddy plow that whole thing and just move them back. So yeah, if you don't have the two bigger trucks, you're kind of just, the parkway is a beast to take care of without them.
Sure, and we've gotten lucky to not have much snow lately, but this could be the winter. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Farmer's Almanac says it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
They still make those?
The next truck is a smaller, it's a lighter weight truck, lighter duty, similar to what we would see with our 550s. We are going to look into a different approach just because we see a lot of wear and tear on the 550s themselves. Kind of bad at handling the weight and the load. So this would be a vehicle that's bigger than a 550, but smaller than, you know, the big single axle. So just kind of a little in between, just a little bit bigger, but still be able to get around and hopefully made for this more than just an F550 would. This truck, 53, you could pick, with the exception of maybe one dump truck, you could pick any one and it would be able to suit the replacement requirements. Not on the mileage, but just on the performance of the vehicle itself. Bad front end issues, rusting. You know, the guys drive a lot of stuff. They have old vehicles. They drive things like that too. And when they get in a dump truck and they say, oh man, that thing is squirrely. Oh, that thing is squirrely. Yeah, okay, maybe it is. Well, yeah, I got in one the other day too. And when you're going down the parkway and you feel yourself kind of move over, it's not a good feeling. And that's when the sun's up and it's dry outside and not, you know, in the middle of a snowstorm. The average age of our dump truck fleet is 11 years old. So in the same instance too, is yeah, we want to get the most life out of these vehicles as we can, but if we don't start replacing these and getting them out, we'll have a whole fleet of dump trucks that'll need to go 1 year. So we can get a couple of these bad ones replaced this year, a couple years maybe down the road, get another one replaced, and instead of having to replace 6 of them all within a couple years, hopefully we can get all those replaced and stretched out a little bit. All right, kind of jumped through a lot of slides. Anybody got any questions on anything? Be more happy to go back.
I would be remiss if I didn't have this opportunity to take a dig.
Yeah.
And the maintenance cost, as you've seen, is going up because the fleet's getting older. So that just supports my information I said earlier.
I appreciate you doing Enterprise's job for them.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yep. Follow up as far as the message board is single facing, so we don't have to worry about dual facing. You're aware if the display was on both sides? Yep, single.
Good.
Well, that's all I had for this evening. If anybody has any questions?
Alderman Osteen.
Yeah, so Devin, what is the next step?
We will be preparing a draft budget and we will present it to you all for your first look at the board meeting.
2 weeks, the first one?
Yeah, next Thursday,
7th.
the 7th. Oh.
And once again, give you the benefit of the doubt, it's a new process for all of us. So, going back to the first 2 days, we ranked items on how different board members, the mayor, perceive them as priorities or of importance. I'm just curious on, out of that list, how do you pick and choose what's going into the budget versus what is not?
When the funds run out of money, yeah, that will be the end.
We went through 1 through 20, what does that mean? If you're in the top 50%, those are the projects we'll throw into the budget.
Depends on the funds available. I still have to get all of the beginning cash balances figured out. And then wherever we run out of money will be the end of it.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I
Nope.
know as a board, we were all confused on, we're ranking these.
Yep.
But for what purpose? It is, in my mind, it was going to be, oh, if you're in the top 75% of this category, you're gonna make the top 5 of these 10, that was gonna be included in part of the budget. I didn't know that it's gonna be kind of a,
Yeah, it's gonna wash, it's gonna depend on the funds available. I wouldn't be able to specifically say everything that's 50% down and up. That's, yeah, this is just a priority so that we have guidance on what is the priority to the board.
and you made a comment earlier, and I think Alderman Ross talked about this as well. Obviously, revenue growth is not forecasted that well for next year. I'm not sure how hard and fast we are with those numbers at this point as far as forecasting. But it was conversations on, okay, let's go back to expenses, let's go back to what you believe the board wants, et cetera. And I just want to make my stance very clear on a lot of this, is it doesn't make sense to buy a new truck if we don't have the employee to drive it.
Correct.
So a lot of the stuff we discussed here, that to me is less important in my mind than those that directly benefit the city as far as the staffing, city hall, et cetera. Then it's a domino effect out from there. So somebody made a mention on merit raises versus trucks and this and that. I go, well, once again, why buy the truck if you've got nobody to buy it or drive it? So that's it.
Alderman Rucker.
Completely off the budget. Just wanted to let the board know that thanks to Tara, and was able to do some research over the controller's position, or not collector, excuse me, collector's position. And we'll be bringing some information. Still got a little more research you got to do. But I found one thing real interesting I just wanted to share with you. In 1986, when the board made an ordinance to pay the collector what we're paying today, that's when it was approved, okay? In that board minutes, they also were discussing making the position not elected but appointed. And shortly thereafter, it got defeated. So what we have done is not new. The citizens had taken that to them many times before. So I thought it was real interesting. Back in '86, they tried to make it an appointed position. So, but doing a little more research before we're able to bring that back, and then we can make some decisions on how we want to move forward with that collector's salary and income. So
Very good.
Just some knowledge for you.
All right, well, we did good tonight. Oh, Alderman Rose, I'm sorry.
I would just like to know, I'm speaking on behalf of the entire board, of how much we all appreciate the department heads and all their presentations of what they would like to have or perceived and going to need. Anyway, it took a lot of research, and we really appreciate all the work that they put into it. That's it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. We have no more comments or questions. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Alderman
Second.
Ross, Alderman Morose, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
We just